Chapter 691. Although it was also in charge of a realm, it was not as sealed as the Supreme Sect. There was only one entrance to the Supreme Sect, and it was guarded by disciples. Outsiders were not allowed to enter the Supreme Sect. Unless they wanted to become a disciple of the Supreme Sect, they would be brought into the sect. Many people, in order to save their friends and family, snuck into the sect with the intention of convincing their friends and family to leave. However, none of these people who pretended to enter the Supreme Sect came out. It was said that they were all brainwashed. Although the emptying world was the location of the sect that had been emptied, there were still many hidden cultivators living inside. When he entered the empty realm, Su Yun was on a hillside. The sky was blue, but the ground was not green. Instead, it was golden yellow. The vegetation on the ground did not look like grass. It was about 3 inches long, and each plant had 7 yellow leaves. They swayed gently in the wind, and the air was filled with an intoxicating feeling. There were many mountains that had been cleared out. They were all high peaks, and some of them pierced straight into the clouds. Every mountain was a bright yellow color. Su Yun took out the parchment that Octagon Aniseed had given him and roughly read through the contents. Octagon Aniseed was very careful. He wrote down all the things that he needed to pay attention to, and even drew out the empty map. It seemed like he had prepared something for Su Yun. After confirming the direction and location, Su Yun took out his flying sword and rushed forward. The empty realm was circular, and Su Yun was at the periphery, and if he walked inside, he would be clearing out the huge sect encampment. Along the way, they could see many spirit cultivators dressed in yellow robes. They carried long swords on their backs and had round order badges hanging from their waists. Their entire bodies were filled with sharp swift wind spirit chi. They were the outer sect disciples that had been cleared out. This time he is really unlucky. He actually went to provoke the Supreme Sect, and even found trouble with the Holy Maiden, causing trouble for himself. Let's see how he will deal with this. And how could he end up with amnesia? It is said that he refined a clear memory pill, and planned to use it on the Holy Maiden to erase her memories before taking her away. However, he never thought that the Holy Maiden would actually use a forbidden technique and forcefully use the clear memory pill on him. Is this considered as reaping the consequences of his own actions? Why not? This old man has been ordering our master around all day long. Now that he has fallen to such a state, it can be considered retribution. However, I heard that he made a move this time to save his grand disciple. That Holy Maiden is said to be the daughter of his disciple Su Shintian and Shin Shueshu. For him to be able to do this, he can be considered a magnanimous person. Magnanimous? Honest my ass, in this negotiation between the sect and the Greater One sect, they would most likely hand him and those 2 idiots over. If they fall into the hands of the Supreme Sect, they will definitely die. Would the sect do that? Even if he lost his memory, he is still the great elder of our sect. If this matter were to spread, then what face would we have left? Great elder? He had lost his memories, and had forgotten many profound techniques. He was completely like an idiot, and his cultivation had dropped by an unknown amount. What was the point of keeping such a piece of trash in the sect? Furthermore, he has offended the Holy Maiden. If he does not give the Supreme Sect an explanation, the Supreme Sect will definitely attack us and clear us out. At that time, the situation will be out of control. Would the Supreme Sect be so impulsive? You must know, the people in the Supreme Sect are all lunatics. This is not the first time they have done such a thing. Regardless of whether the other party is strong or weak, as long as they provoke them, they will never let it go. A wave of discussion came from the front, and when Su Yun, who was following behind, heard it, he clenched his fists tightly, and looked at the few disciples of the Clear Sky sect with an even colder gaze. As if sensing a strange gaze coming from behind, the disciples who were flying in front turned their heads and looked at Su Yun. When they saw the other party's serious expression that carried a trace of hatred, they were immediately angered. Where did this wild brat come from? What are you looking at? Scram! I heard you insult Su Shintian and Shin Shueshue just now, right? Su Yun said coldly. Hearing that, the disciples all stopped and stared at Su Yun with ill intent. What is it? The man laughed disdainfully. Seeing how angry you are, could it be that these two have something to do with you? You didn't hear wrongly. I just insulted them, so what? Do you dare to make a move against me? Let me tell you, we are the people who have been cleared out. If you act recklessly, I can guarantee that you won't be able to leave the empty world. Fuck you. Su Yun was furious. He pulled out his sword and killed. He did not care about fame and fortune, but he valued his family very much. How could he tolerate others insulting his parents? These disciples were all shocked. The guy in front of them was so impulsive. He just said he would fight? However, there were 4 of them, and all of them were at the 5th stage of the Sky Spirit Master. Su Yun looked to be only at the peak of the 5th stage. How could he be afraid? However, after a short exchange of blows, these disciples were stunned. Su Yun's speed, profound chi, strength and so on were not something that an existence at the 5th stage of the Sky Spirit Master could possess. They could not even catch a glimpse of Su Yun's figure, and were left with several sword scars on their bodies. Bang 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 bang! Su Yun raised his leg and kicked each of them, kicking them down from the sky. Everyone was struck to the ground, unable to move. They were already wailing in pain. I'll let you guys go this time. If you dare to insult Su Shintian and Shin Shueshue again, I won't let you off lightly. Su Yun said coldly. Yes, yes, yes. Sir, we won't dare to insult the 2 of you anymore. The disciples begged for mercy. Su Yun snorted, then immediately left. He flew extremely fast, heading straight for the empty sect. Although these disciples had seen his face before, it was not a big deal. These people were just outer sect disciples, and normally, they would not be able to go to the inner sect. Su Yun was currently empty. If he were to kill people recklessly, he would only invite trouble for himself. Teaching them a lesson was just a small matter, and there would not be any big problems. Even if they went to the sect to complain, no one would pay attention to them. After rushing for half a day, Su Yun finally arrived at the empty door. The door was extremely imposing. It was at least 100 meters tall, and on both sides stood 10 statues of the same height as the door. It was grand and magnificent. The door was surrounded by mountains and rivers, and the door was filled with disciples entering and exiting. It was extremely lively, but there were also many other spirit cultivators entering and exiting, but looking at their chi, all of them were existences above the 3rd stage of the Sky Spirit Master. From the looks of it, Su Shintian and Shin Shueshue's cultivation, in a sect like this, could only be considered to be above average. Su Yun did not dare to be in a hurry to enter and empty the sect. With his current state, it was impossible for him to enter, so he walked to the small path, took out the parchment given by Octagon Aniseed, and opened it to take a look. Don't sneak into the empty gate. There are 9,300 enchantments around the sect, and 18,900 enchantments inside. These enchantments will only be automatically ignored by those who wear the empty gate, and those who do not have the empty gate will definitely be discovered if they sneak in. What you need to do is to obtain an empty gate, and then sneak in from the south. Su Yun looked at the blood-red words above, thought for a while, then his gaze landed on the disciples who were entering and exiting, rolled his eyes, put away the parchment, and walked away. Not long after, Su Yun wore a yellow robe and walked towards the south side of the mountain with the empty gate. The back mountain was a dense bamboo forest, but the bamboo here was not emerald green. Instead, it was also golden in color. From afar, it looked like a golden land. It seemed that there wasn't much green in the empty world. The mountain top here was also surrounded by a large number of enchantments, but with the help of the empty gate, the enchantments could be ignored. In the end, it was too big to be emptied. Su Yun carefully snuck in, lowered his head, and followed the small path towards the inner sect. He was waiting for the Supreme Sect's request, but he did not know where Su Shintian and Shin Shueshu were. However, this was not difficult for Su Yun. Once he entered the inner sect, he could just use the heavenly seeking treasure bell. Su Yun was a little anxious, and it was only after this incident that he understood that Su Shintian and Shin Shueshu were disciples who had been cleared out. After all, he was the great clan elder. If the Supreme Sect's requirements were not high, clearing out would more or less protect him, but Su Shintian and Shin Shueshu were different. The two of them were just disciples of the elders, and were not important to the sect, so the punishment would definitely not be light. He was afraid that the two of them would become the scapegoats for this incident. Thinking about it, Su Yun became even more anxious. When he reached the small path, Su Yun stopped in his tracks. There were pavilions all around, and in the distance there was a green river. On the other side of the river were several large formations, and on the other side of the formation was a magnificent group of palaces. Over there was the empty inner sect, and in the center of the inner sect was the gathering place for the supreme beings and elders. Su Yun rolled his eyes, looked at the sky, then turned and walked towards the forest at the side, hiding well. The barrier of the inner sect was different from the outer sect. The barrier of the inner sect would automatically distinguish the identity of the inner sect people and the outer sect people. If Su Yun were to barge in rashly like this, he would definitely be noticed. He could not withstand the investigation. If he was not an empty person, he would most likely be treated as a spy and be killed. Therefore, he could only continue to wait here. Of course, it was not easy to get the inner sect disciples to clear out the order. This was an empty place, and the inner sect disciples' cultivation was most likely not ordinary. Once a fight broke out, it would not end in a short period of time, and if it caused a commotion, then Su Yun's situation would be dangerous. Therefore, Su Yun planned to follow the method given by Octagon Aniseed. Octagon Aniseed had said that because of the complexity of the enchantments, there would be people in the market who would inspect them. As long as they found the place where the enchantments were inspected or damaged, they could bypass the guarding disciples and sneak in. If they left before the great array was repaired, there wouldn't be much of a problem. Although this method was feasible, to Su Yun, time was too tight. However, there was nothing he could do now, so he could only choose this method. Looking at the series of methods recorded on the parchment, Su Yun was thinking, did Octagon Aniseed sneak in and empty it before? Crash. After an unknown period of time, a voice came from the other side of the river. Su Yun, who was hiding behind a tree, immediately looked up, only to see two inner sect disciples walking out. They walked in front of the formation, lowering their heads to set something up. This is it. Su Yun frowned, he took a deep breath and quietly snuck over. Hey, stop! Just as Su Yun was quietly approaching the other side of the river, a low shout suddenly came from behind him. Chapter 692. Hearing that voice, Su Yun's entire body trembled, his heart tensed up, he clenched his fists tightly, the profound chi started to accumulate. He slowly turned around and looked behind him. Behind him, there was a man dressed in yellow armor with a slight build. The man's expression was extremely arrogant. His soybean-sized eyes sized Su Yun up, then raised his voice and asked, "You look very unfamiliar. Are you new to my sect?" "Yes." Su Yun nodded. "Then why are you here?" The man snorted and said, "You're just an outer sect disciple. How can you wander around? Do you know what this place is? This is the entrance to the inner sect. What are you trying to do here? Hurry up and get to work. You're not allowed to be lazy." Hearing that, Su Yun did not bat an eyelid. He nodded and said yes, and was about to leave. But at this moment, a person suddenly ran over from the path. "Senior brother! Senior brother Yu Bu!" The man was holding a glowing gift box in his hand as he ran and shouted. When the fatty saw this, he immediately stopped in his tracks and looked at him strangely. "What's going on?" "Senior brother, the people from the Hall of Life have sent a gift to Zhang Jingying. They said it was for his birthday. Do you want to help deliver it?" That person ran over, gasped for breath, and then said with a flattering tone, "Zhang Jingying?" Hearing that, the fatty's expression changed slightly, and he snorted. "What do you mean by this? Don't you know that I have always been at odds with Zhang Jingying? You actually want me to take this crappy thing for him? Don't even think about it. This senior brother, we're outer sect disciples, so we can't enter the inner sect. You're an inner sect disciple, so you can enter and leave the inner sect as you please. Besides, I really can't find anyone. Senior brother, please help me out. If I don't send it, and Zhang Jingying finds out, then he will definitely cause trouble for me." That person said with a bitter expression. "If he finds trouble with you, that's your problem, it has nothing to do with me. If you want to send something, you can just send it over." The fatty didn't buy it at all. "But if you don't help, and Zhang Jingying finds out, I'm afraid he will blame you, senior brother." Pa. Just as the man said wah, he was slapped hard by the fat man. The fat man shouted angrily, "Bastard, are you threatening me?" That person spun around on the spot, feeling dizzy and disoriented. He covered his face and said with grievance, "Senior brother. Senior brother, it was just a slip of the tongue, just a slip of the tongue. I didn't mean anything else. I definitely didn't mean anything else." "I don't think you dare." Fatty snorted. However, he did not leave immediately. Instead, a troubled look appeared on his face. It was likely that this fellow's words had caused him to hesitate. "Although I don't get along with Elite Zhang, he's an elite of the inner sect, and I'm just a deacon disciple of the outer sect. In terms of status, he's above me, but I really don't want to see this guy anymore." Fatty sighed, but very quickly, he seemed to have thought of something and said in a low voice, "Ching Jun, how about this? Why don't I give you the inner court token and you send it yourself? Is this appropriate?" "What's inappropriate about it?" Fatty stretched out his hand and removed the empty clearance order from his waist. The man called Ching Jun hesitated for a moment, then nodded his head. He sighed slightly and was about to reach out to receive it. "Senior brother, let me go. I'll send this over for you." Just then, a light cry came from the side of Yu Bu and Ching Jun. The two of them looked to the side at the same time, only to see that Su Yun had unknowingly stood beside the two of them, smiling at Yu Bu. Scram! Fatty snorted in displeasure. But in the next second, Su Yun stuffed a small bag of money over. There were no profound coins in the bag, but there was a profound coin card with 1,000,000 profound coins. He quietly whispered into Fatty's ear, "Senior brother, actually, when I was here just now, I just wanted to see the scenery of the inner sect. I just entered the sect, and am very curious about this place. I heard that the inner sect is filled with supreme expertess, and there are countless strange sights. I want to broaden my horizons. Now, senior brother is so confused. How can I just stand by and watch? Senior brother, please give me this opportunity, so that I can help you solve your problems, and also let me broaden my horizons, okay?" With that, he stuffed the card into Fatty's hand. Fatty opened his eyes slightly, and quietly raised his hand to look at the profound coin card inside. When he saw the amount, his soybean-sized eyes released a golden light. Ching Jun, who was at the side, saw all of this. He looked at Su Yun with disdain, but did not say anything. Cough cough. "Since junior brother wants to broaden your horizons and see the glory of the inner sect, how can I not give you this chance?" With that, Fatty snatched the inner court order from Ching Jun's hand and stuffed it into Su Yun's hands. "Remember, once the gift box is delivered, come out immediately. Don't delay, understand? If anyone finds out that you have my order badge, then both you and I will be in trouble." Fatty said seriously. "Yes, senior brother." Su Yun immediately said, "Senior brother? Is this appropriate?" Ching Jun said worriedly, "What's wrong with that?" Fatty glared at Ching Jun, then said to Su Yun, "Hurry up and go." "Yes, thank you, senior brother." With that, Su Yun carried the gift box and walked towards the inner sect. With Fatty Yu Bu's empty order, It would be as easy as flipping his hand for Su Yun to enter the inner sect. The disciples who were inspecting the array could not be bothered with Su Yun, and seeing that there was nothing strange about the spirit formation seal, they followed him. After Su Yun entered the inner sect, he immediately opened the gift box. Seeing that there were some spirit cultivators' tonics inside, he did not hesitate and kept them all into his storage ring. Spending 1,000,000 profound coin to buy some of this really made his heart ache, but the most important thing was the empty order. After entering the inner sect, Su Yun became more careful. There were no weaklings in the inner sect, and the supreme expert even knew how to read minds. Su Yun had snuck in. If he were to meet such an existence, his identity would most likely be seen through by the other party. He followed the quiet path and slowly shuttled through the inner sect's palace. Seeing that there was no one around, he took out the heavenly seeking treasure bell and started to search for Shin Shueshue and Su Shintian's whereabouts. Along the way, Su Yun walked extremely cautiously. He had to avoid the crowd, and at the same time, he had to appear natural. If someone he did not pay attention to noticed that he was being sneaky and suspicious, the situation would still be very bad. However, after walking for about 2 hours, Su Yun could not help but stop. At the end of the street was a black mud road that led to the mountain. The road was extremely quiet and no one could be seen, but at the end of the black mud road stood a disciple dressed in golden armor. This disciple had a golden sword, and was like a god of war, guarding the entrance to the mountain. Su Yun glanced at it, then retreated and leaned against the wall, lowering his head to think. Now that there were people guarding it, and the entrance to the mountain was so narrow, it was likely that he would not be able to pass this trial with the empty token. Long Zhen's wristband was fully activated. If an existence below the 9th stage of the Sky Spirit Master did not wear a specific magic treasure, they would not be able to see through his chi. The disciple guarding the mountain was extremely dense. He was at least at the 8th stage of the Sky Spirit Master. If he relied on an obstacle, he would be able to avoid his line of sight, but the entrance to the mountain was only 5 meters wide, and there were barriers on both sides. How could he pass through? Looking at the mountain, it was extremely hazy. There were a few buildings at the top of the mountain that looked like a prison. Could it be that his father and mother were locked up here? However, just as Su Yun was deep in thought, the sound of hurried footsteps came from the entrance of the mountain. Following that, he felt the profound chi in the air shaking, and specks of light leaked out from the entrance, as though someone was coming over. Su Yun looked over anxiously, only to see 7 empty disciples pressing down on 2 figures walking over. The 2 of them were a man and a woman, both dressed in empty clothes. The man's expression was firm and determined, while the woman's head was lowered and she did not say a word. The 2 of them were not shackled by any shackles or iron chains, but they followed the 7 disciples over. However, the 7 disciples emitted light from each other, forming a square light array that trapped the 2 of them. Father? Mother? Su Yun's expression immediately tensed up. He wanted to rush up immediately. However, he managed to restrain his impulsive actions in time and calmly looked at Su Shintian and Shin Shueshue. The 2 of them had good complexions and did not have any injuries on their bodies. It seemed that they were still in the same sect and did not torture them. Seeing that, Su Yun heaved a sigh of relief. Since Shin Shueshue and Su Shintian had come down from the mountain, Su Yun naturally did not need to go up, and quietly followed the group. These people walked through the black mud road and headed straight for the center of the inner sect. They only stopped when they arrived in front of a hall. You guys stay here and watch them. I'll go in and report to the elders. A disciple said. Yes, senior brother. The few of them drank. After that, the crowd dispersed. 3 of them left, leaving only 4 to guard Su Shintian and Shin Shueshue. Su Yun looked around. It was extremely quiet, and the interior of the hall was also extremely quiet. If he did not make a move now, he would not have the chance. Immediately, he quietly pulled out the Lotus Star Sword, stared at the 4 spirit cultivators, and forcefully pulled out all of his profound qi. The dense profound energy surged towards the sword body like a flood. Whiz! Accompanied by his swift and fierce figure that was almost impossible to catch, he instantly appeared in front of the 4 emptied disciples. Sleep! Su Yun consecutively released 4 sword strikes. All of them were placed on their chests. The Lotus Star sword's light exploded. With a thought, before the disciples could even react, their entire bodies were powerless, their consciousness was weak, and they immediately fainted. But when the 4 swords were unleashed, Su Yun's body also became powerless, as if he was spinning silk from a cocoon, and the profound qi was instantly consumed by 1/5. The idea was to sleep. Forcing the other party to sleep was not considered strong for the Lotus Star Sword's idea, but the cultivation of these existences were not low, and the profound qi required to successfully activate the idea was also extremely huge. If not for the fact that Su Yun's profound qi was dense, he would have fallen asleep after unleashing 4 consecutive sword strikes. Su Shintian and Xin Shueshue, who were in the center, were stunned by this change. Su Shintian turned his head and shouted, "Who is it?" "Father, it's me." Su Yun gasped for breath and said to Su Shintian. Su Shintian was startled. When he saw who it was, he regained his senses and said in shock, "Yuner." Chapter 693. Xin Shueshue's eyes reddened. She turned her head and looked at Su Yun, who had suddenly appeared. She was also shocked, speechless for a long time. "Yuner, why are you here?" Xin Shueshue regained her senses, her face instantly turning pale white. She anxiously pulled Su Yun and shouted, "Do you know where this is? Hurry up! Hurry up and leave. If the people from the sect discover you, you'll be finished." "We can go. Father, mother, come with me," Su Yun said with a smile. "Yuner, what are you doing here? Don't you understand where this is?" Su Shintian frowned, his expression congealed as he bellowed at Su Yun. "I know this place is empty, and father and mother are the ones who cleared it out. Then you should know why father and mother are like this, right?" Su Shintian asked again. "It's to save my sister," Su Yun said in a low voice. Su Yun's appearance here had indeed surprised Su Shintian and Xin Shueshue, but since he was already here, he must have known about the ins and outs of the matter. Hearing that, Su Shintian sighed slightly and said, "It's good that you know, Yuner. Your mother and I have already caused trouble and should be punished, but you are different. You are still young, and do not know about the grudges and entanglements between sects. Quickly leave. Do not stay here. You are not an empty person. Once you are discovered by others, they will only kill you without mercy. Father, mother, I heard that this time I might hand you over to the Supreme Sect for punishment. I have heard a little about what kind of sect the Supreme Sect is. If you do this, you will most likely be persecuted by the Supreme Sect. For this, I must bring you away. If father and mother do not leave, I will not leave either." Su Yun knelt down on both knees and said with a firm attitude, "You." Su Shintian was speechless. Xin Shueshue anxiously helped Su Yun up. Her eyes were red and tears were welling up at the side of her eyes. "Yuner, you are trying to pierce through my heart," Xin Shueshue cried out in grief. "Yuner, you should hurry up and leave. If we want to escape, it would be impossible for us to escape from this empty world. Take advantage of the fact that you haven't been discovered by them, and leave quickly. If you hesitate any longer, it will be too late." Su Shintian exclaimed. "Father, mother, Su Yun wanted to say something, but just then, a loud and clear voice came out from the hall. "Traitorous disciple Su Shintian, Xin Shueshue, I never thought that you would have reinforcements. Is this person here to save you? Humph, if that's the case, I advise you to obediently surrender. You won't be able to escape." When the voice came out, more than 10 spirit cultivator walked out of the hall. There were men and women in these spirit cultivators, and almost no one had an aura lower than the spirit emperor. Without a doubt, these were all the higher-ups that had been cleared out. Seeing that they had appeared, Su Yun's face tensed up. He stood up and took out the death sword. Not good. Shin Shueshua anxiously blocked in front of Su Yun and cried out to the spirit cultivatoress. Second clan elder, third clan elder, this person is my son. He came here this time to see us. He definitely has no other intentions. I hope all the elders will show mercy. Please show mercy. Your son? Second elder Guzazai stared at Shin Shueshua majestically and said, Didn't you only have one daughter? When did he have a son? Furthermore, what was going on the ground? If your son wants to see you, how can you use such a despicable method to harm my sect members? This, Shin Shueshua opened his mouth, but was unable to say a word. Second elder, how is my master? Su Shintian asked anxiously. Elder Zazai has caused a great disaster for the sect this time. His crime is unforgivable, but how the sect will deal with him has not been decided yet. Second elder Gu Zazai said with a cold expression. Master was poisoned by an elixir that he refined himself. Originally, this elixir was refined to save my daughter, but it accidentally entered his body. Master once told us that this elixir can be detoxified, and the method of recovery must be recorded in his secret manual. Second elder, please hurry to my master's cultivation place and search for the method to refine the elixir so that my master can recover his memories. Su Shintian shouted. However, his words were like a breeze in their ears, not worth mentioning. What recovery method? We don't know that Elder Zazai's pill refining skills are the most outstanding in the entire Clear Sky sect. We don't have his methods, so how would we dare to act recklessly? If anything happens, we won't be able to bear the consequences. Furthermore, the Venerable One does not have any intention of letting him recover his memories, and your punishment will be made after discussing it with the people of Supreme Sect. You can't even protect yourselves. Why do you need to care about others? Second elder, I know that there is a grudge between you and Master, but we are all empty people. How can we do this because of personal grudges? Shut up. Su Shintian, are you teaching me a lesson? Gu Zazai was angry. He immediately waved his hand at Su Shintian, and a burst of strength chi instantly exploded, directly striking Su Shintian's chest. Bang! Su Shintian's body immediately flew up and crashed into a wall not far away, causing the wall to shatter into powder. He also spat out a few mouthfuls of blood and was injured. God! Father! Su Yun and Shin Shueshua cried out in grief and ran towards Su Shintian. You simply don't know what you're talking about. You caused such a huge disaster for me, yet you still don't know how to repent. Gu Zazai coldly snorted. Su Yun clenched his fists tightly. He turned his head and stared at Gu Zazai angrily, his eyes bloodshot. Elder! At this moment, a disciple suddenly flew over and knelt down on one knee. What's wrong? Gu Zazai stared at the disciple and asked. Reporting to the elders, the Supreme Sect's envoys have already arrived and are rushing over here. Oh, so fast? Third elder Hong Zazai frowned slightly. They came so quickly, could it be that they have some sort of purpose? Purpose? It's just those thoughts. They came here this time to vent their anger. After all, these people insulted the Supreme Divine Tao that they revered the most in their hearts, and to spread their teachings, hoping that we would join the Supreme Sect. This is something that the people of the Supreme Sect often do. No matter which sect they go to, they will preach to that sect. Gu Zazai snorted. How would I dare to join such a sect? Hong Zazai shook his head. Gu Zazai turned his gaze to Su Shintian and Shin Shueshua and said coldly, First, take the three of them down and strictly guard them. After we finish our discussion with the Supreme Sect, we will deal with them. Yes, sir. A few disciples nodded, and then walked towards Su Shintian and Su Yun. However, just as they got closer, what greeted them was a chaotic and violent sword chi. The two disciples at the front were caught off guard and were directly struck to the ground by the sword chi. Su Yun's face was sinister, the devil chi around his body was leaking out, He held onto the death sword and lotus star, staring fiercely at Gu Zizai and the others. When the second elder and the others saw this, they were stunned. Shen Shueshue was even more shocked. He anxiously pulled Su Yun and shouted, "Yuner, what are you doing? Father, mother, don't worry. With your child here, nothing will happen to you. I will definitely save you and leave this heartless sect that only cares about protecting itself." Su Yun clenched his teeth. "Yuner." Shin Shueshue's tears fell like rain. Looking at the figure in front of her, for some reason, she started to cry. Seeing Su Yun standing alone in front of Su Shintian and Shin Shueshue, Gu Zizai and the rest recovered from their shock. Hong Zizai could not help but shake his head as he let out a mocking and helpless laugh. "Young man, we admire your courage, but courage alone is not enough, you still need strength. You are just a 5th stage Sky Spirit Master Cultivator. How can you contend against us? Hurry up and surrender. You're just wasting our time by doing this. Yuner, you go." Just then, Shin Shueshue stood up and pulled Su Yun behind her. She opened her arms and called out to Gu Zizai, Hong Zizai and the others. "Elders, today's matter is all my fault. Su Yun is not sensible, and does not know how to clear the rules of the world. I hope that the elders can let him go. As long as everyone is willing to let him go, I, Shin Shueshue, am willing to obey any of your arrangements." "Shuer." Su Shintian stood up with difficulty and called out in a low voice. "Heaven, we owe Yuner too much. This time, we can't let him bear it anymore." Shin Shueshue turned his head and said with a choked voice. Su Shintian opened his mouth, but did not say anything. And at that moment, Su Yun was already filled with mixed feelings. His heart was extremely complicated. However, at this moment, how could he tolerate all of this happening? "Father, mother, don't worry. I've said it before, I will definitely bring you away today," Su Yun said coldly, and then kept the Lotus Star Sword, both of his hands holding onto the death sword tightly. His eyes were like an eagle, staring at Gu Zizai and the others. "Elder Gu, if you are willing to let everyone die with us, then you can come. With so many people dying with me, Su Yun, Su Yun, will not be lonely." As the sound of his voice faded, Gu Zizai and the others revealed looks of doubt. "I have seen many boastful people, but this is the first time I have seen someone as boastful as you. Young man, what ability do you have to contend against us?" Hong Zizai snorted, then waved his hand and bellowed, "Capture them!" "Yes, sir." The surrounding people shouted in unison, and then rushed towards Su Yun. There were already people who had accumulated a dense profound strength, planning to deal with the sword chi that Su Yun had released. With Su Yun's cultivation, they believed that they could defeat him the moment he made his move. But Su Yun did not release his own profound chi in all directions to resist the approaching people. Instead, he held onto the sword with one hand, while the other held onto the death sword's body. Bright red blood flowed out from his palm, dyeing the death sword red. A terrifying and indescribable fear rose up in everyone's heart in this second. Chapter 694. Gu Zizai seemed to have sensed something. His face suddenly turned snow-white, and he hurriedly shouted, "Stop, all of you, stop!" With that said, the people who were rushing towards Su Yun hurriedly stopped in their track. "Elder, what's wrong?" An elite turned his head and asked in confusion. "Everyone, scatter, scatter!" Gu Zizai's expression kept changing as he anxiously shouted. His eyes revealed a strong sense of fear. Even Hong Zizai, who was at the side, had an ugly expression on his face. He stared at Su Yun, and a hint of fear surfaced in his sunken eyes. The surrounding disciples and sect elites were confused when they saw the two elders behaving like this. Why did the two elders show such expressions without rhyme or reason? Was there something wrong? Elder Gu must have sensed the power sealed within my sword, right? Just then, Su Yun laughed coldly. "Since you have already sensed it, then I do not need to explain too much. I have come here prepared, and today, I have no other intentions. I just want to protect my father and mother's safety. I will not interfere in other matters. I hope that Elder Gu can allow my father and mother to leave." With that said, Su Yun stared at Gu Zizai. "But they are all sinners, how can they just leave like that? If they leave, how are we going to explain this to the Supreme Sect? How do we explain this to the Supreme Sect?" Su Yun snorted. He stared at the people around him, his eyes revealing a trace of contempt and disdain. "Let me ask you, what is the reason for this? It's all because your father and mother bewitched the great clan elder and forced him to save their daughter, Su Luluo." An elite interjected. "Is that so?" Su Yun stared at the elite and said coldly, "Then let me ask you, is the great clan elder the person who wants to be free?" "Of course." "Are my parents the ones who are cleared out?" "Of course." "My sister Su Luluo, before she entered the Supreme Sect, she must have been cleared out as well, right?" "That's true." The elite hesitated for a moment. Hearing that, Su Yun laughed coldly. "What kind of sect is the Supreme Sect? I'm afraid everyone knows it better than me, and now, the people who have cleared out the sect are in a dangerous situation, and the people who have cleared out the sect are not thinking about saving the sect, but are instead thinking about how to persecute the people of the sect. Is this what it means to be cleared out?" "Brat, don't speak rudely," Hong Zizai shouted. But Su Yun did not care. He pointed around and scolded. "My sister Su Luluo, now that she is in danger, shouldn't the sect provide convenience? It's fine if you don't save her, but Elder Zizai risked his life to help. But you guys are adding insult to injury, and instead want to hand Elder Zizai over to the Supreme Sect. Is this how you guys do when you're clearing out people? If my father and mother wanted to save my sister because of family ties, then what about Elder Zizai? Why did he do that? He did it for the sake of his fellow disciples. What did Elder Zizai do wrong? Aren't you afraid that this matter will spread to the myriad worlds and become the laughing stock of all living beings in the myriad worlds? Aren't you afraid of disappointing the hearts of all the people here?" The angry roar spread in all directions. When some of the disciples heard this, their hearts suddenly beat faster. Su Yun was right. If he could not even protect the great clan elder of his own sect, how could he protect them in the future? Gu Zizai's expression kept changing, and he was momentarily speechless. "Are you so cowardly to empty people? The people in his supreme sect are people, and the people you emptied out are not people? Why did they bewitch the people who were emptied out, and the people who were emptied out had to compromise with them? Do you have no backbone at all?" Su Yun stared at the disciples around him and shouted angrily. As soon as he said this, all the disciples around him lowered their heads in shame. Hong Zizai also felt embarrassed, but as a person who had been cleared out, he knew better than any ordinary disciple that sometimes dignity did not represent everything. As the higher-ups, they had to consider the interests of the sect. He pursed his lips and said in a low voice, "Brat, no matter how you argue, this is not an excuse for you to take the two of them away. We can let you go, but the two of them must not leave." "Then do you think I'll just leave like that?" Su Yun's eyes gradually turned blood-red, and the devil chi around his body became more and more intense. "I, Su Yun, hereby swear that as long as you guys dare to touch a single hair on my parents' head, I will use the sword storm sealed in this sword by the sword ancestor to completely destroy all of you. Even if the jade and stone are destroyed together, I will not hesitate." He almost growled out, his deep roar spreading far and wide. Gu Zizai and the rest were all trembling with fear. They were all alarmed by Su Yun's madness. Su Shintian's face was sluggish. He looked at his son with a complicated gaze and a strange confusion. Shen Shueshua's face was already full of tears. Looking at Su Yun in front of her, she could not stop her tears. All of this should not have been borne by Yuner. Heaven, we shouldn't have done this. Maybe we shouldn't have made that decision back then. Shen Shueshua covered her lips and cried. But now that things have come to this, we have nothing else to say. Su Shintian sighed, his expression helpless. They all knew that it was useless to try and persuade Su Yun again. At this moment, Gu Zizai was already speechless. His face alternated between red and white, and no one knew what he was thinking. Sword Ancestor. Sword Storm. Did this power come from the Limitless Sword Ancestor? Could it be that you are the successor of the Limitless Sword Ancestor? Hong Zizai said in shock. Su Yun did not say anything. He stared coldly at the people around him, then turned his head and said to Su Shintian and Shin Shueshue, "Father, Mother, let's go first and clear out. Yuner, this. If you have anything to say, we can talk about it after we leave. Father, Mother, there's no more time. Let's go." "But your Grandmaster is still imprisoned. How can we abandon your Grandmaster and leave just like that?" In the end, Grandmaster cleared out the great clan elder, adding that he has already lost his memories. "I believe that clearing out the Supreme Sect will not do anything to him, at least his life will not be in danger, but you guys are different, we need to protect our lives first, and think of a way to save Grandmaster in the future." Su Yun said. Right now, he was truly powerless to save himself. Hearing that, Su Shintian and Shin Shueshua looked at each other, then turned and slowly retreated. Su Yun held onto the death sword and slowly retreated. The elites that rushed over wanted to stop Su Yun, but were anxiously shouted at by Hong Zizai. The higher-ups of the clearing could clearly feel that if they were forced into a corner, Su Yun would release the power inside the black sword, and half of the clearing would turn into ashes. The consequences would be unimaginable, and it was not worth it to clear half of the clearing for the sake of these few people. With something to rely on, Su Yun, Su Shintian and Shin Shueshua retreated relatively easily, and no one dared to stop them. It was just that a sudden change occurred. Before he had even taken a few steps, circles of golden ripples suddenly appeared in the sky. These patterns pierced through the sky like a long golden river flowing in the sky. Several figures stepped on the golden river and quickly flew over. When they got closer, Su Yun felt his heart being suppressed, and his hands started to tremble uncontrollably. It was as if all the energy in the Qi meridian in his blood had been suppressed by the other party, and could not be moved at all. Su Shintian looked up into the sky. His face immediately became serious, and shouted in a low voice, "Yuner, be careful! The Venerable One is here." Empty the Venerable One? Su Yun was startled. Could it be the owner of the empty realm? However, just as he was thinking, the pressure became stronger and stronger. Su Yun felt as if his body was about to collapse. It was extremely uncomfortable. The people who had followed closely behind Su Yun and surrounded him all knelt down at this moment and shouted towards the people who had descended, "We pay our respects to the Venerable One, we pay our respects to the 5 Saint Techniques. We pay our respects to the Venerable One, we pay our respects to the 5 Saint Techniques." The people shouted piously, their voices extremely respectful. Even the second elder, Gu Zizai, and the third elder, Hong Zizai, were kneeling on the ground, their hands raised high in worship. "Mom, who are these people?" Su Yun held onto the death sword in his hand with all his might, and asked softly. "Clearing out the Venerable One is clearing out the sect leader, and also the realm master of this realm." Shin Shueshua looked at the people who were gradually descending from the sky, and said in a low voice, "And those 5 people are the direct disciples of the sect leader, and are also the 5 people who were cleared out along with the sect leader back then. Their positions are above your Grand Masters, and their cultivations are also extremely powerful. All of them can be said to be great saints. These people are here. I'm afraid we won't be able to leave so easily today," Su Shintian said. As the sound of his voice faded, the 6 people in the air had already landed on the ground, standing in front of Gu Zizai and the others. In an instant, a golden light flashed. It was brilliant and dazzling. That strange light made it difficult for people to open their eyes. Su Yun's nerves tensed up, his gaze solemnly looking at the person who suddenly arrived. Su Shintian and Shin Shueisha looked at each other, then cupped their fists helplessly and said, Sinner Su Shintian, Shin Shueisha, greets the Venerable One, greets the 5 saint techniques. All of you rise. The middle-aged man at the front slowly spoke. This person had a mustache and looked very upright. His hair was very long, reaching his waist, and his body was also very slender. Although he could not be considered handsome, he was still a very charming person. Thank you, Venerable One. People stood up. Only then did Venerable Lord Emptiness turn around and look at Su Yun and the rest. Venerable One, Su Shintian and Shin Shueisha are trying to escape. Their son has a powerful magic tool in his hands, so we do not dare to stop him. Gu Zizai cupped his fists and said, You did the right thing. His eyes landed on the pitch-black death sword in Su Yun's hand, and said indifferently, This is the protective power of the Limitless Sword Ancestor, although I do not know why it was sealed in this sword, but once it is released, the empty world will definitely be destroyed. When Hong Zizai and the rest heard this, they all sucked in a breath of cold air. Venerable Lord Emptiness shifted his gaze to Su Yun's face, and said indifferently, Young child, I know the cause and effect of this matter. Then, why did you let my father and mother go? Su Yun immediately asked. However, after a moment of silence, Venerable Lord Emptiness shook his head. He stared at Su Yun and said seriously, People will die in battle. If for the sake of your parents, I would have emptied out and fought with the Supreme Sect, and caused even more people to die, how would I, the Venerable One, have the face to face the people who have emptied out? Chapter 695. In order to protect these 2 people, offending the Supreme Sect will only cause the Supreme Sect to fight with them. The people of the Supreme Sect have high cultivation, and it is difficult for me to deal with them, so more people will die because of this. How can this be? So, you mean to say that you want to sacrifice my father and mother to protect the people who have been cleared out? Su Yun asked. It's not a sacrifice, it's a responsibility. This matter was caused by Su Shintian and Shin Shueisha. It's only right for them to stand up and take responsibility. How can it be called a sacrifice? Venerable Emptiness said indifferently. Then why is it that my sister, as the person who has been cleared out, is trapped in the Supreme Sect? Why did you not save her, and not take responsibility? Su Yun asked again. When Venerable Emptiness heard this, he fell silent for a moment. My sister's matter has nothing to do with you, so you naturally have nothing to do with it. But now, my father and mother have provoked the Supreme Sect in order to save my sister, and you guys are in such a hurry to distance yourselves. Heh, so this is emptying? Su Yun sneered. Venerable One Emptiness frowned. Audacious brat, how dare you speak rudely here? Do you really think that I'm afraid of you? Gu Zizai shouted. I know you are not afraid of me, but I, Su Yun, am not afraid of you. Su Yun said coldly, and with that, he raised the death sword in his hand. This sword is very powerful. But young man, don't you think that you've been underestimating us? Venerable Emptiness said indifferently, I have at least 2 ways to deal with the sword in your hand. Although it's a bit risky, it doesn't mean that I can't do anything to you. Since that's the case, then please give it a try. If you can ensure that it's completely empty, then I, Su Yun, will lose. Su Yun said. He naturally knew that these were just words used by the Venerable One to scare people. After all, this was the Sword Ancestor's protective sword chi. Its power was extraordinary. If it wasn't for the protection of the Sword Ancestor's protective sword chi, the Sword Ancestor would have died long ago. He really doesn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Master, there's no need to say anything more. I'll use the dust sealing forbidden technique to seal him. I'll definitely be able to completely seal him before he can activate that power. Just then, one of the 5 saint techniques by the side said coldly. As he spoke, a burst of spirit chi shot out from his body, causing Su Yun's entire body to tremble, making it difficult for him to stand. Don't mess around. This power isn't something that your forbidden technique can seal. Activating it doesn't require too much profound energy, so if you haven't sealed him off and he activates that power, then the result will only be mutual destruction, and it will be unstoppable. Venerable Emptiness said solemnly. Master, what do you mean? You don't have to do anything. I'll deal with it. His dignified eyes suddenly became gentle, and his pupils inadvertently flickered a few times, like two flashing lights. Are you called Su-Yun? Very good, you are a very brave person. If a person like you could join us, I would be very happy. Su-Yun, regarding the matter between your parents and the Supreme Sect, I think it would be better for us not to make such a big fuss. Anything can be discussed, put down the sword in your hand and we can talk calmly, okay? As soon as he said that, he felt a strange energy mixed within the voice of the Venerable Lord, which quickly drilled into Su-Yun's ears and into his brain. Hearing that, Su-Yun felt that for some reason, his nervous and serious heart was actually excited, all of his nervousness had disappeared, and all of his vigilance had been lowered. It was as if he had heard the assurance of the Emptiness Realm expert, as if he already knew that his parents were out of danger. All of his hostility had disappeared, and the anger in his mind had completely retreated. His eyes became blurry as he looked at the Emptiness Realm expert, and his hands gradually became powerless. Venerable Lord Qing Kong gently extended his hand out and said gently, Su-Yun, I do not want to be enemies with you, and I do not want to make things difficult for your parents. Stop, let's have a good talk. I will satisfy everything you want, and any conditions you raise, we will also agree to it. Stop. Stop. This voice seemed to be filled with a devilish nature, making it impossible for people to stop when they heard it. All right, Su-Yun almost mechanically said this word. Su Shintian and Shen Shueshue, who were behind him, immediately sensed that something was wrong. Shen Shueshue anxiously looked at his son's face, only to discover that his eyes were empty, as if he had been struck by some profound technique that had lost his mind. Yuner, what's wrong with you? Shen Shueshue shouted. But it was useless. Venerable Lord Emptiness raised his hand and waved it slightly. Gu Zizai and the others understood and immediately rushed forward to control Su Shintian and Shen Shueshue. As for Gu Zizai himself, he personally rushed towards Su-Yun, wanting to snatch the death sword in his hands. Don't act recklessly. Venerable Lord Emptiness immediately shouted in a low voice. He was just struck by my illusion technique. His cultivation is not high, so the illusion technique is very effective against him. However, his mind is surprisingly resolute, and he is not trapped in the illusion. If you touch him, he will immediately wake up. Then I'll just kill him. Gu Zizai's face revealed a vicious expression as he took out a sharp sword and shouted. You can't do it. Why? This Su-Yun is very cunning. He has actually been activating a defensive magic treasure. His goal is to guard against my kind of silent profound technique attack. Look at his left hand. Hearing that, Gu Zizai immediately looked towards Su-Yun's left hand, only to see that Su-Yun was holding onto a flag. The flag was trembling non-stop, as if it had been activated. If you can't kill him in one strike, he will definitely wake up. At that time, the problem will be even more serious. But if we don't remove this sword, we still won't be able to subdue this person. We will still be in a passive state. Gu Zizai said anxiously. How could that be? Venerable Emptiness said indifferently. Isn't he a filial son? Su Shintian and Shen Shueshue are both in our hands. Are you afraid that we won't be able to subdue him? After saying that, Venerable Lord Emptiness suddenly waved his hand. With a crashing sound, it was as if a gust of wind had swept through the entire place. Su-Yun's entire body trembled, and he woke up from the illusion technique. He opened his eyes wide, tightly holding onto the sword in his hand. He looked forward, only to see that the Venerable Lord Emptiness was looking at him indifferently. The surrounding hostility was extremely strong. He anxiously looked around, only to see that Su Shintian and Shin Shueshue, who were behind him, had disappeared. When he looked again, they had already been controlled by Hong Zizai and the others. Illusion technique, Su Yun muttered, and instantly understood what was going on. Su Yun, look, I can silently control you, and silently capture Su Shintian and Shin Shueshue from your hands. Do you really think that I can't do anything to you? If I wanted to kill you, it would be as easy as flipping my hand, but since you are the successor of the Limitless Sword Ancestor, I will let you go, and if you leave now, do not cause trouble again. I will be magnanimous, and will not pursue your rudeness this time. Venerable Emptiness said indifferently. Hearing that, Su Yun's face immediately turned sinister. He held onto the death sword and the 7th-tier Imperial equipment in his hands tightly, his eyes bloodshot. You won't kill me? Do you think I'm an idiot? If you could kill me, you would have done so long ago. Why would you keep me alive? How could a person who didn't even care about the life and death of his own people care about the life and death of outsiders? Emptiness Realm Expert, if you do not hand over my parents today, I will definitely perish together with you. Don't give me any more reasons, and don't give me any more excuses. I don't care about any of this. He raised his hand, the death sword slanted towards the sky, and the profound strength in his body automatically surged towards the sword body of the death sword. I'll give you 10 seconds to think about it. 1. Hand over my parents, and all of you return to the mainland. 2. We will all perish together, empty the world and accompany me in death. He did not dare to delay any longer, nor did he dare to hesitate any longer. If he did not have the determination to die, not only would he not be able to save his parents, he would also die here. Right now, if he didn't use some forceful methods, it would be difficult to deal with these people. Hearing this, Venerable Lord Emptiness's face changed. Su Yun, are you threatening me? So what if I am? Su Yun said coldly. I am just a small fry, my death is not enough. To have a person like you accompany me in death, I am happy for you. How dare you? Venerable Lord Emptiness was completely infuriated by Su Yun's arrogance. He growled. Do you really think I can't deal with you? Don't force me. With that, he was about to make his move, as though he was planning to use some profound technique to deal with Su Yun. However, just as the situation was becoming more and more tense and intense, a multicolored and brilliant light suddenly exploded in the sky. A clear and melodious sound rang out, causing the people below to raise their heads and look up. Everyone looked up at the sky. A tiny crack appeared in the sky. It was like an eye slit. However, the crack was like a pair of eyes that had opened, slowly expanding and growing larger. At the place where the sky had split open, there was an incomparably large whirlpool made of light. Upon closer inspection, one could see a large number of human figures floating within the whirlpool. These human figures were like falling raindrops, smashing straight down. Emptiness Sovereign, you are becoming more and more capable. You even dare to touch my people. Do you still have me in your eyes? An explosive shout came out like thunder breaking through the sky, shaking everyone in the Emptiness realm to the point that they were on the verge of collapsing. Su Shintian and Shin Shueshue's faces changed drastically. Shin Shueshue looked at the sky anxiously and muttered, Father? With his hands behind his back, he looked at the figure that was descending from the sky and said solemnly, What kind of wind blew the martial monarch here? My empty little world cannot accommodate a great god like you. If you can't tolerate it, you can insult it as you please? You can ignore this old man's existence just because you can't tolerate it? The voice came again, but it was filled with questions. His voice was like a thunderclap as it descended. Venerable Lord Emptiness's expression became even uglier. Chapter 696. When the light dissipated, they saw warriors dressed in gold and silver armor holding sharp swords, pointing them at the necks of every single disciple on the scene, subduing most of them in an instant. In front of the Venerable One appeared an old man dressed in 7-colored armor and a golden cloak. The old man had white hair and a white beard, but he was very majestic. He was close to 2 meters tall, and his face was square. His eyebrows formed a line, and he looked very domineering. He stood there like a god of war standing in front of everyone. No one dared to look at him directly, and they couldn't help but have a strange feeling of worship in their hearts. He also had an indescribable aura. Everyone around him felt ashamed of their inferiority. No one dared to go against him, not even daring to disobey his will. Who is this? Su Yun was suspicious, but his vigilance did not decrease. Previously, he had been careless and was hit by the Venerable One's technique, but now, he could not be careless. Most of the spirit cultivators in the surroundings were stronger than him. If he was careless, he would definitely lose his life. The old man in the 7-colored armor turned his face and shouted at the elite who was holding on to Shen Shueshue. "Let her go!" The elite was shocked. He stared blankly at the old man's dignified face. His entire body could not help but tremble. The hand that was holding on to Shen Shueshue also involuntarily loosened. He didn't even know why he let go. Afraid? No, it was a feeling that was even stranger than fear. It was as if his body was involuntarily listening to his orders. Shen Shueshue was freed, but she immediately ran towards Su Shintian. Seeing that this person had arrived, the people who had cleared the area did not dare to make things difficult for the two of them. Su Shintian was also released, and Shen Shueshue immediately pulled Su Shintian and ran towards the old man. Could this be a friend of his parents? Seeing that, Su Yun was startled for a moment, and then he was overjoyed. However, Su Shintian's expression was extremely ugly. Not only him, even Shen Shueshue's expression was extremely strange. She did not dare to look at the old man, and after she ran over, she lowered her head and did not say a word. The old man looked at Shen Shueshue. A cold snort came out from his nose, and then shouted at the venerable emptiness realm expert. "I have already heard about this matter. This matter has nothing to do with my daughter. This is all your own fault. Therefore, the matters of the Supreme Sect should be left to you all to take care of." "Martial Emperor, what are you talking about?" Venerable Lord Emptiness said indifferently. "My sect's elders want to go to the Supreme Sect to ask for someone, and the person they want is your granddaughter, Su Luluo. Now that things have gotten out of hand, are you going to push all the responsibility onto us? Don't you think you're going too far?" At this point, Venerable Emptiness's indifferent eyes burst forth with a strange sharpness, causing one's bones to tremble. However, the old man was not afraid at all. Instead, he looked back at the emptiness realm expert with an even more domineering and resolute gaze. At the same time, he said in a low voice, "Yes, so what?" Venerable Lord Emptiness focused his eyes. "I came here this time only to save my daughter. I don't care about anyone else." "Granddaughter? I have never had a granddaughter. You have to be clear about this." With that, the old man turned his head and stared coldly at Shen Shueshue who was beside him. "Father." Shen Shueshue lowered his head and called out. "You're still willing to recognize me as your father?" The martial emperor coldly snorted. Shen Shueshue did not speak. "This son-in-law greets father-in-law." Su Shintian cupped his fists and bowed, but his movements were rather stiff. However, the martial emperor did not even look at him, and said in a deep voice, "Scram." Su Shintian's face changed, but he did not say anything. Seeing that, Su Yun's heart, which was originally filled with joy, immediately turned cold. This person was his mother's father? That was his grandfather? But from the looks of it, he seemed to be extremely angry? And his attitude towards his father was very unfriendly? Su Yun was extremely suspicious, but this was a matter between elders, so it was not convenient for him to ask, but he still had to do some etiquette. Immediately, Su Yun kept his death sword and walked over, bowing respectfully to the old man. "Grandson greets grandfather." "Grandfather? The martial emperor turned his head. His domineering and majestic eyes swept across Su Yun, and then asked, "Who are you?" Su Yun was startled, and said, "My mother is Shin Shueshue, she is your daughter, I am naturally your grandson. When did my daughter give birth to a son?" The martial emperor snorted. Shin Shueshue, who was at the side, opened her mouth, as if she wanted to say something, but when the words reached her mouth, she forcefully swallowed them back. Su Yun frowned, but quickly felt relieved. Previously, the martial emperor was not even willing to admit his sister, so how could he admit himself? He cupped his fists and retreated. He walked to Shin Shueshue's side and asked in a low voice, "Mother, what exactly is going on? Why does grandfather seem to be very angry?" Sigh, it's a long story. Shin Shueshue sighed, and a bit of bitterness appeared on her face. Actually, you can't blame your grandfather for this, because mother secretly ran away from home for your father. Your grandfather has always been brooding over this matter, and he even hates your father, so he did this. Hearing that, Su Yun understood a little. Although Shin Shueshue did not explain in detail, just this alone had already made the doubts in his heart lessen a little. No wonder the martial emperor was unwilling to admit that Su Luluo and Su Yun were his grandchildren. So it was because his father had abducted someone else's daughter. No wonder the martial emperor was angry. "Let me ask you, are you willing to go back with me?" Just then, the martial emperor had his hands behind his back, facing Shin Shueshue, and shouted in a serious tone. Hearing that, Shin Shueshue pursed her lips. She was not in a hurry to reply, but instead grabbed Su Shintian's hand and said softly, "If father is willing to bring Shin Tian back, I will go back. What do you think this is? You actually want to bargain with me?" Anger surfaced on the martial emperor's face. "What's more? I have already given you a huge gift by not killing this person, and now you still hope that I can save him? Don't even think about it. Don't say any more, quickly come back with me." With that, he extended his hand and was about to forcefully bring Shin Shueshue away. However, Shin Shueshue resisted with all his might and shouted hysterically, "Father, if you want to forcefully separate me from Shin Tian, I would rather immediately destroy my own body and soul. Completely die." With that said, the profound chi in Shin Shueshue's body immediately activated, filling every part of his body, and showing a sign that it was about to break out of his body. Seeing that, Su Shintian and Su Yun turned pale with fright, and anxiously went forward to stop Shin Shueshue. The martial emperor was even more furious. He stomped his feet again and again, causing the entire sky to sway as if there was an earthquake. When the martial emperor was enraged, the sky and earth changed color, the sun and moon lost their light, and the spirit energy in the air seemed to be affected by the fluctuation, shaking incessantly, and all the living beings in the entire realm trembled in fear from the anger. Other than Gu Zizai and the others, the rest of the people present were already trembling. Feeling the anger of the martial emperor, Su Yun felt his heart tremble. What kind of powerful existence was this? No wonder he dared to ignore the emptiness realm expert, and even humiliate him in front of his face. This kind of sage was like a god, and mortals could not look up to him. Su Shintian's face was pale, his breathing was hurried, but he and Shin Shueshue's hands were tightly clenched together. No matter how strong the martial monarch's aura was, no matter how violently Su Shintian's body trembled, he still clenched his teeth and refused to kneel down. "Father, if you want me to leave, you must bring Shin Tian with you. The weak are not worthy of traveling with me. I am also very weak. Why do you care about my life and death?" Shin Shueshue cried. "You are my daughter. If I want you to become stronger, it will be as easy as flipping my hand. Since that's the case, why aren't you willing to accept Shin Tian? His talent is higher than mine. Isn't it easier for you to make him stronger? How can I, the martial monarch, easily pass on this cultivation technique to an outsider? He has already humiliated me time and time again. I only did not kill him because of you. If you continue to bargain like this, I will kill him on the spot." The martial monarch had already roared out, completely ignoring the people around him. "If you want to kill me, then kill me as well. In any case, as long as something happens to Shin Tian, I will not live alone," Shin Shueshua said resolutely. Her tears had already drenched her face. "Snow." Su Shintian held her hand tightly. At this moment, the heart of this tough man couldn't help but melt. Seeing that, the martial monarch's brain was already burning with anger, he could not hold it in at all. He raised his hand and was about to kill Su Shintian. But at this moment, the people beside him suddenly cried out, "My emperor, the princess has a stubborn personality. If we use brute force, she will definitely not obey. Let's bring Su Shintian and the princess back to the palace first and slowly deal with them." Hearing that, the martial monarch glared at that person angrily, causing that person's face to turn pale and his entire body to tremble. He raised his hand high up in the air, the profound strength in his hand surged, causing the air to tremble like a wave. It was extremely terrifying, but in the end, he did not strike down, and the profound strength in his hand also gradually dissipated. He nodded his head, snorted, and said, "You're right, I'm in a hurry to kill him, it's too easy for him." With that, he waved his hand, and two people stepped forward, one on the left and one on the right, escorting Shin Shueshue and Su Shintian. "Take them away." "Yes, sir." "Wait." At this moment, Venerable Emptiness spoke out. He said in a deep voice, "Martial monarch, what do you mean by this? Have you asked for my opinion before taking my disciple away from here? What's the difference between asking and not asking? Do you still dare to object?" The martial monarch tyrannically stared at the Emptiness Realm expert and spoke arrogantly. A thick killing intent flashed through the eyes of the Emptiness Realm expert, but he did not dare to refute. "Let's go." The martial monarch waved his hand. "Father and Yunner, please take Yunner away as well," Shin Shueshua said again. "An outsider, why do you care about him? In short, I will never acknowledge him." The martial monarch bellowed. He could no longer listen to Shin Shueshua's pleas. He immediately waved his hand, leading the people around him into the sky, into the crack in the sky, and disappeared in an instant. Seeing that, Su Yun's heart was filled with mixed feelings. His parents had been saved by his grandfather, so they were most likely fine. It was just that they did not bring him away, so he was more or less unhappy in his heart, not to mention that the martial monarch was unwilling to admit him time and time again. Forget it, it was just a dispute between the elders. No matter what, he was at least willing to save his parents. That was enough. Su Yun heaved a sigh of relief, the boulder in his heart also relaxed, but he was not afraid that he was still in a state of emptiness. Chapter 697. The Emptiness Realm expert stared coldly at the crack in the sky that was gradually closing. He did not say a word, and his expression was extremely ugly. After a while, he turned into a beam of light and disappeared into the distance. "Venerable One! Venerable One!" Gu Zizai shouted a few times, but he had already left. Even the 5 Saint Arts did not stop and followed him. When everyone saw this, they remained silent. Although the Emptiness Realm expert came quickly and left quickly, the arrival of Shen Wu Huang made them understand that the Emptiness Realm expert had nowhere to vent his anger. This place was empty, but the martial king was extremely tyrannical, not giving him any face at all. He continued to do as he pleased, acting in an overbearing manner, and probably did not even have him, the Emptiness Realm expert, in his eyes. However, the Emptiness Realm expert did not dare to flare up. The Emptiness Realm expert was a person who was good at enduring. He was clear of the gap between the Emptiness Realm and the martial king. "Elder Gu, what should we do with this person?" Hong Zizai walked over, looked at Su Yun and said softly, "He is Shin Shueshua's son, and is Shen Wu Huang's grandson. Do you dare to provoke him? Let him go." Guzezai shook his head, then said to Su Yun, "Brat, consider yourself lucky today. My sex venerable one will not pursue your rudeness and recklessness. You can leave on your own, do not cause trouble here, if not we will not let you off lightly." Su Yun laughed, he did not care about him, took out his sword and flew away. If Shen Wu Huang did not come, and Su Yun did not have the death sword in his hands, he would have taken Su Yun down long ago. Once he took him down, it was unknown whether Su Yun was dead or alive. With Shen Wu Huang and the death sword as a barrier, the emptiness realm expert did not dare to make a move on Su Yun, so Su Yun swaggered out of the emptiness sect. The only regretful thing about this operation was that he did not manage to save the great clan elder, but Su Shintian and Shen Shueshue had already left, and just a single desire was not enough to quell the anger of the Supreme Sect. He believed that the Emptiness Sect would not foolishly think that a single desire could resolve the dispute with the Supreme Sect. But since it did not concern him, Su Yun would not pay attention to it. He was only curious about where his parents had gone. He didn't even know that his grandfather was still around, nor did he know that his grandfather was in existence with such a terrifying cultivation. Even the emptiness realm expert was afraid of him. Could it be that mother was not the miss of the Shin family? Dad shouldn't be a member of the Su family, right? Otherwise, how could Su Yun, a small aristocratic family from an ordinary human world, produce two such terrifying existences? With their cultivation, if placed in the Sky Martial continent, they would be able to sweep away all existences, and proclaim themselves as kings. The so-called patriarch of the Su family and the profound Sky sect were like flies in front of them, without any threat. The doubts in Su Yun's mind were like a layer of hazy fog, causing him to be extremely confused. Holding onto the death sword, his journey was unobstructed. There were a few elites following behind him, and after they left, all of them left. Su Yun flew to a forest and exhaled. He then took out the parchment that Octagon Aniseed had given him and planned to leave the empty realm according to the method given by the higher-up. Crash. At this moment, a strange sound was heard. Then, a figure suddenly walked out of the golden forest. Who? Su Yun kept the parchment and bellowed with a serious face. The figure walked over quickly, approached Su Yun, knelt down on one knee, and shouted loudly, "Greetings, Lord Demon Lord." Hearing that, Su Yun looked over, only to see that it was a devil cultivator dressed in true devil sect clothes. "Who are you? Why are you here?" Su Yun asked. Reporting to Lord Demon Lord, Disciple Mo Luo is a disciple of the Devil Sect's Inner Mountain. This time, I am here to receive Lord Demon Lord on the orders of the Vice Sect leader. The Devil Cultivator called Mo Luo said. On the orders of Octagon Aniseed, you came here to pick me up? Su Yun's face revealed suspicion. Why would Octagon Aniseed send you to pick me up? Have you been waiting for me here? Reporting to Lord Demon Lord, this subordinate has been wandering around the periphery under the orders of the Vice Sect leader Chi. The sect leader has ordered that if you were to be killed by the person who cleared you out, he would immediately return to the true Devil Sect and report this matter to the sect leader. If you are safe and sound and leave by yourself, I will immediately bring you back to the true Devil Sect and take over the position of Demon Lord. The Devil Channel did not answer Su Yun's question, but instead told him the little information he knew. Su Yun frowned. After thinking for a moment, he said, "Bring me back to the true Devil Sect immediately." "Yes, sir." The Devil Channel cupped his fists, then pulled out the pitch-black devil blade from his waist and slashed at the void. The void instantly split apart, and a black hole similar to the void fragmentation gate appeared. Chirp! The pitch-black hole quickly disappeared, and the devil chi in the vicinity also dissipated completely in the blink of an eye. However, not long after, two figures slowly appeared in the distant void. The two of them seemed to have appeared out of thin air, and each of them held a piece of cloth that looked like a handkerchief in their hands. Shockingly, the cloth was a magic treasure that could turn invisible. Devil chi? Devil cultivator? Could this person be someone from the true devil realm? Looking at that person's attire, he seems to be someone from the true devil sect. Maybe this fellow who came to cause trouble is someone from the true devil sect. Quick, let's go report to Elder Gu. N. The two of them whispered to each other for a moment, then immediately turned and flew towards the sky. When he returned to the true devil sect, he had been waiting for Su Yun in the Skull Pavilion. The Devil Channel led Su Yun outside the pavilion and directly left. Su Yun looked at the pavilion, took a deep breath, and shouted. Su Yun pays his respects to the eight-toothed sect leader. However, as the sound of his voice faded, he did not see the appearance of Octagon Aniseed. There was not even a sound. Su Yun thought for a while, then walked straight in. As expected, once he entered the pavilion. At this moment, his head was leaning against the left armrest of the chair. His short and thin legs were resting on the other armrest, and he was sleeping soundly with his face covered. How could an existence of the Spirit Emperor sleep all day? Su Yun could not understand at all. He went up and called out into Octagon Aniseed's ear, eight-toothed sect leader. However, Octagon Aniseed remained unmoved. He even moved his body and turned his head around. Su Yun frowned and raised his voice. Eight-toothed sect leader. However, it was still useless. Su Yun was not a patient person, seeing that Octagon Aniseed was sleeping soundly, and was actually smacking his lips. He could not help but reach out his hand and pinch his nose, which was even more exquisite than a woman's. Unexpectedly, Octagon Aniseed still did not react. Instead, he opened his mouth to breathe and continued to sleep soundly. Eggy! Su Yun cursed in his heart. This guy was getting better and better at sleeping. He stared at the chair, and without caring too much, he went up and gave it a kick. Clang! The chair shook, and Octagon Aniseed's thin and weak body fell from the top. He fell to the ground and immediately woke up. Who? You actually dare to attack the vice sect leader of the true devil sect? Do you want to die? Octagon Aniseed crawled up in a panic and looked around. His delicate and pretty face purposely put on a sinister look as he shouted loudly. However, no matter how ferocious his delicate and pretty face was, it wouldn't scare anyone. When he saw Su Yun standing in front of him, he was startled and said, "You are the Demon Lord? Hey, Demon Lord, why are you here?" Su Yun took a deep breath, suppressing the discomfort in his heart. He said snappily, "I just came back from emptying out. The magic channel said that you summoned me, so I came." "You're here so soon?" Octagon Aniseed rubbed his drowsy eyes and sat back down on the chair. He looked at Su Yun and laughed. Hee, clearing out a line. Did it go smoothly? Smooth. Su Yun nodded his head. Although there were some twists and turns in this trip, in the end, we still resolved the matter. However, my father and mother are currently at my grandfather's place. I wonder how they are doing. The martial emperor loves his daughter dearly, so he will definitely not make things difficult for your mother. However, it's hard to say for your father. Octagon Aniseed laughed. But with that said, Su Yun frowned. Eight-toothed sovereign, how did you know that my grandfather is a martial emperor? How did you know he was involved in this matter? Hearing that, his smile froze for a moment, then he laughed out loud. Everyone knows that Shen Shue's father is Shen Wu Huang. Furthermore, didn't you mention your grandfather? Ha ha! But I didn't say that he was involved in this matter. It's also possible that my mother and father went to seek refuge with my grandfather, isn't it? Octagon Aniseed was speechless. Then, he exhaled and said with a helpless look, "All right, I admit it. I wrote a letter asking your grandfather to empty the place and save them. So it was you who did it. I'm not worried about you. Emptying out is not a small sect. Your parents have committed such a crime, and with the personality of the Venerable One, it would definitely be better to have less trouble. If you want to sacrifice your father and mother, it would be a fantasy for you to go there alone and save them, so I informed Shen Wu Huang of this matter. If he knew about this, he would definitely not stand by and watch. Octagon Aniseed said. Hearing that, Su Yun was silent for a moment, then sighed, sat on the chair and nodded. What you said is right, and what you did is right. Eight-toothed sovereign, this time. Thank you very much. He smiled gently and walked over. There's no need to thank me. You are already a member of the Devil Sect, so the people of the Devil Sect should help each other, right? With that, he took out a pitch-black bone mask from his bosom and handed it over to Su Yun. When Su Yun saw the bone mask, his face revealed a look of surprise. The people of the Devil Sect are never afraid of trouble, nor are they afraid of being implicated. You should never fight alone, understand? Octagon Aniseed said seriously. Su Yun stared blankly at the bone mask, unable to speak for a long time. After an unknown period of time, he finally extended his hand and carefully received the bone mask. Sovereign! Thank you! Didn't you just thank me? Why are you thanking me again? Is your thanks so cheap? It's just moving your lips. It doesn't cost you anything. Ugh. All right. Can I ask you a question? Speak. Why do you sleep all day? Is my hobby okay? Hobby? It's too weird. What is it? Can't I? Yes, but it's quite similar to the hobby of a certain animal. What animal? Pig. Ugh. You. Su Yun. Stop right there. Chapter 698. Empty the Inner World. After clearing out the Holy Spirit in the center of the hall, men and women wearing white clothes with golden patterns were walking towards the hall step by step. These people were all expressionless as they looked forward. If it wasn't for the fact that they were still alive and walking, others would have thought that they were just a group of dead people. However, when these people walked into the palace, the atmosphere in the palace instantly became extremely oppressive. Gu Zizai, Hong Zizai and the other elders and higher-ups in the palace all focused their gazes on the people from the Supreme Sect. The disciples guarding the palace also stared at these people without blinking. Looking at them, everyone's hearts involuntarily started beating faster. These people came from the craziest sects in the myriad heavens realm. They had abandoned their feelings, abandoned their desires, and still lived, all for the sake of the illusory supreme divine Tao that no one knew about. They were not afraid of life and death, nor were they afraid of any powerful and terrifying existences. In order to protect the supreme divine Tao, to protect their faith, they could charge towards death wave after wave, and attack the strongest existence in the world with a single order from the sect leader. No one could understand what the people of the Supreme Sect were thinking. Those who understood had long since entered the Tao. No one could see through this sect, nor did they understand the true meaning of its existence. The Supreme Sect had existed for so long, but the Supreme Divine Tao that they had passed down through their mouths had always been an illusory thing. However, there was one thing that he had to admit, and that was that the limitless profound Qi that the people of the Supreme Sect used could indeed be said to be the most exquisite of the thousands of profound Qi. The strength of the Supreme Sect was unquestionable, and because all of its disciples were loyal to the sect, no one in the myriad heavens realm dared to casually provoke the Supreme Sect, even emptying it. Venerable Lord Emptiness was dressed in a luxurious robe as he sat at the top of the palace. His expression was extremely indifferent as he watched these people walk in. It was just that, after these people from the Supreme Sect entered the palace, they did not kneel or bow, nor did they sit. They stood in the center of the palace like statues, and looked at the Venerable Emptiness realm expert. He didn't do any etiquette. Gu Zizai and the others looked at each other in dismay, not understanding the reason. Venerable Lord Emptiness frowned, and then slowly spoke. Fellow Taoists of the Supreme Sect have crossed over from afar, causing me to be extremely touched. Please take a seat, and then we can discuss the following matters in detail. Venerable Emptiness said indifferently. Venerable Sir, there's no need to waste any more time. After we're done with this, We'll return to the sect quickly and cultivate the path of godhood. The leader, a skinny man, spoke. These words were simply slapping his face in front of everyone. The surrounding people were all enraged. Wu Xinzi, what do you mean by this? What? Don't you want to talk to us? If you don't want to, then please leave quickly so as not to waste everyone's time. Hong Zizai stood up and shouted angrily. However, just as Hong Zizai finished speaking, the Supreme Sect people led by Wu Xinzi did not say a word and directly turned to leave. He came and left in a straightforward manner, without the slightest bit of hesitation. Hong Zizai was stunned. They didn't give him any face at all. The Emptiness Realm expert's face had long since become extremely long, and the anger in his eyes became even more intense. It was one thing for Shen Wu Huang to humiliate him previously, but now, a small disciple of the Supreme Sect also dared to look down on him. How could he endure it? Everyone, please wait. Gu Zizai sensed that something was wrong and immediately stood up. The people of Supreme Sect all stopped in their track. Elder Gu, if they want to leave, then let them go. Why do you care about them? Hong Zizai said in a low voice. Don't say another word. Gu Zizai gave Hong Zizai a meaningful glance, then called out, Everyone from Supreme Sect, please wait, please wait. I have invited all of you here today to settle some small conflicts between our two sects, and will not take up too much of your time. Since all of you are already here, why can't you be patient and listen to what I have to say? If everyone were to leave just like that, wouldn't it be a waste of your time? Since that's the case, please make it short. Wu Xinzi turned around and said expressionlessly, The great clan elder wants to come to my Supreme Sect in the next few days to cause trouble. Not only did he kill hundreds of my Supreme Sect disciples, he even humiliated my Divine Tao Holy Maiden and wanted to harm her. This matter has already been found out by the sect leader, and the sect leader is furious. If the person who has cleared out cannot give us an answer, we will personally seek justice from all of you. The Holy Maiden is the benchmark of my Supreme Divine Tao. Insulting her is insulting my Supreme Divine Tao, and we cannot let her off lightly. When Hong Zizai heard this, he immediately became angry. He stood up and shouted, Don't go too far. However, before he could finish his words, he was glared at by the Emptiness Realm expert. Elder Hong, don't be impudent. Hong Zizai's body trembled. Seeing the venerable Emptiness Realm expert's cold face, he immediately cupped his fists and sat down, not daring to say another word. Gu Zizai ignored Hong Zizai and continued, Everyone, the master of my sect already knows about the ins and outs of this matter. We are also very shocked about this matter, because whether it is empty or Supreme Sect, we are all peace-loving. We will not easily start a war with any other sect, and what I am searching for is the supreme path of eternal life. Fighting and killing is just something that mortals should do. No matter how perfect a sect is, there will still be some people who will ruin the sect's reputation. This time, it was all because the former great elder of my sect wanted to act willfully. When he committed such a crime, he kept us in the dark, and we did not know about it. So you want to say that this matter has nothing to do with emptying out, and let us find freedom, right? Wu Xinzi said indifferently. Since that's the case, please hand over the disciples under you to us, bring them back to the sect, and deal with them according to the rules of my Supreme Sect. I'm afraid I can't do it. Elder Gu shook his head. Lord Wu Xinzi might not know, but a few days ago, someone snuck into my place to empty it out, wanting to save these criminals. This person has a huge background, we do not dare to offend him. Hearing that, Wu Xinzi asked indifferently, Who? It's someone from the True Devil Sect. Gu Zizai said softly. What is it? Could this be related to the True Devil Sect? Elder Zizai's disciple is related to a person called Su Yun from the True Devil Sect. This person is very powerful, with a demon sword in his hand. He snuck into my place and saved me. So, if everyone from the Supreme Sect wants to come here to ask for him, I'm afraid you won't be able to. If you need him, you will have to go to the true devil sect, Gu Zizai said. With that said, Hong Zizai, who was at the side, finally understood Gu Zizai's intentions. He was completely prepared to push all the blame onto the true devil sect, who had nothing to do with this matter. Shen Wu Huang did not dare to provoke him. If he were to push all the blame onto Shen Wu Huang, with Shen Wu Huang's personality, he would definitely be furious, and would do everything he could to settle the score with him. But the true devil sect was different. This sect had always kept a low profile. Although its strength was not ordinary, it was not afraid of being emptied. Compared to the supreme sect, they would rather be enemies with the true devil sect, and would rather pour the water of disaster onto them. Is that so? Wu Xinzi fell into deep thought. Gu Zizai quietly watched from the side, quietly waiting for Wu Xinzi's reply. After an unknown period of time, Wu Xinzi raised his head and said indifferently, "I hope what you said is true." With that said, the group of Supreme Sect people walked out of the door. Gu Zizai turned his head and revealed a strange smile towards Venerable Emptiness Realm Expert. Venerable Emptiness Realm Expert nodded without saying a word. Right. Just as Wu Xianzi was about to walk out of the palace, he suddenly turned around and said, "You only said that Su Yun saved the disciple who wants to be at ease, but you did not say where he is. May I ask where he is now?" This. Gu Zizai was in a difficult position. Seeing that, Wu Xinzi looked at Venerable Emptiness Realm Expert and said, "If you wish for Elder Zizai to be here, please hand him over first. Otherwise, we will not need to go to the true devil sect." Lord Wu Xinzi, there is no need to be so anxious. Elder Gu, go and bring Elder Zizai here and hand him over to the supreme sect. Without waiting for Gu Zizai to finish speaking, Venerable Emptiness Realm Expert suddenly spoke up and interrupted him. As soon as he finished speaking, the entire hall was shocked. Everyone's eyes were like the eyes of a cow as they looked at Venerable Emptiness Realm Expert. This was something that Gu Zizai and the others did not even dare to think about. Handing over a few disciples was fine, but handing over an elder was a completely different matter. Furthermore, this elder was the great elder who had been cleared out. If this matter were to spread out, what face would he have left? His reputation would definitely be ruined. At that time, no one would dare to come and clear out the world. Venerable One, this, Gu Zizai wanted to say something, but Venerable Emptiness Realm Expert waved his hand and said indifferently, "It's just a sinner, what's there to care about? Quickly hand him over to the Supreme Sect. Even if the Supreme Sect does not punish him, I will definitely not forgive him. Now that there are Supreme Sect people punishing him for me, why would I not be happy? Hurry up and bring someone over." When the crowd heard this, it was no longer convenient for them to refute. Gu Zizai sighed, nodded to the two disciples behind him, and then left. Not long after, a yellow-robed, white-bearded old man with a celestial demeanor was led over by two disciples. The old man looked around, as if it was his first time here. When he saw the person sitting above, he immediately knelt down. "Greetings, Venerable Emptiness Realm Expert. Get up." Venerable Emptiness Realm Expert waved his hand. "Thank you, Venerable One." He wanted to get up. Venerable Emptiness Realm Expert glanced at the puzzled expression on his face as he suspiciously sized up his surroundings. He then said to Wu Xinzi, "He's here, you guys can take him away." Wu Xinzi nodded. He did not say anything. He only turned around and walked towards the door, while the Supreme Sect disciples behind him quickly took out their magic treasure and struck at him. Before he could even react, his chest suffered a heavy blow. He fell to the ground and spat out a mouthful of blood. Following that, a black and white cage flew over and enveloped him. "What are you doing? Let me out!" He wanted to cry out as he turned his head and shouted at Venerable Emptiness Realm Expert, "What crime have I committed? Why did you lock me up?" He had no idea what was going on. He had lost his memories, and everything around him was extremely unfamiliar. He couldn't even tell who was good and who was bad. How sad and desolate was this! It's not that I want to lock you up, it's that the Supreme Sect wants to lock you up. You have already lost your memories, so there are many things you do not know. It's useless to tell you. Venerable Emptiness Realm Expert said indifferently. He then turned around and was about to leave the palace. However, at this moment, countless rainbows streaked across the sky, followed by a large number of figures rushing over. When his figure landed on the ground and the light dissipated, he saw hundreds of disciples standing outside the palace, blocking the path of Wuxin Zi and the others. Chapter 699. The emptied people in the palace ran out one after another. Looking at the people who were flying over, they realized that they were all disciples who wanted to be at ease. They knelt down at the same time and shouted in unison, "Please show mercy to the emptied Venerable One, please show mercy to the lords of the Supreme Sect, and spare Master's death sentence. Forgive Master's death sentence. Master is the benchmark for me to clear. I can't lose him when I clear. Venerable One, please show mercy. Please forgive Master." The cries continued, the disciples' expressions were sincere, some of them even cried out, people continuously kowtowed, their expressions pious and sorrowful, their pleading eyes staring at these people who were determined to live and die. The scene became chaotic. However, Wuxin Zi and the others were still expressionless. They were not moved at all, as if they did not see these people at all. "Pull them away." The few illusory words of the Venerable Emptiness Realm Expert came from the palace. "Yes, sir." The elites in the hall stepped forward and pulled the disciples away one by one. "Venerable One, please be merciful. Master is the great clan elder who has cleared out the great clan elder. All these years, he has done so much for us. I hope that the Venerable One will show mercy and not hand them over to the Supreme Sect. He must die." A disciple knelt down and climbed up, crying hysterically towards the hall. However, what greeted him was a cold snort and a palm wind. Bang! The disciple was struck in the chest and was sent flying. He fell onto a rock behind him and spat out a mouthful of blood. He then fainted, and it was unknown whether he was dead or alive. The rock also turned into fine powder in an instant. When the other disciples saw this, their expressions changed. As for the one in the cage, tears streamed down his face. "I don't remember anything, but you call me Master, so you must be my disciple. I don't know what I've done wrong, but you don't have to do this anymore. Leave, all of you. I'm willing to take responsibility for everything I've done." His voice was hoarse, as if he was pleading. His words caused the disciples to wail and cry in grief. "All of them. Pull them apart," Hong Zizai said somewhat powerlessly. The other disciples were a little hesitant, but due to the order, they had no choice but to follow. However, before these disciples could make a move, Wu Xinzi and the others made their move. They didn't care about the disciples in front of them at all. They rose into the air and flew into the sky as if there was no one in front of them, just air. They didn't care about them and just left like that. Everyone was stunned. But when he thought about it carefully, he understood. The people of Supreme Sect only had the Supreme Divine Tao in their hearts, and only the orders and missions given by the sect. They did not care about anything else, nor did they care about it. "Master!" The disciples who wanted to be at ease shouted hysterically, "Elder Gu, what should we do now? Why would the Venerable One make such a decision?" Hong Zizai walked over, looking at the Supreme Sect people that were gradually disappearing into the sky. He worriedly said to Gu Zizai, "The thoughts of the Venerable One are not something that we can guess. Now that things have come to this, we can only do our own things and not think too much about other things." Gu Zizai shook his head and turned to leave. The sky was dark and overcast. The ice-cold world was like a corner that had been forgotten by the gods. However, this corner was a forbidden area for countless spirit cultivator in the myriad heavens realm. True devil realm. a terrifying place where strong demons ran rampant. Inside the true devil sect. What? You want to be emptied and handed over to the supreme sect? Su Yun, who had just come out of the quiet world, looked at the magic channel in front of him in shock, and cried out involuntarily. Yes, Lord Demon Lord, the Supreme Sect's envoy has already arrived at the front of the sect, saying that he wants to see the sect leader. I wonder what their purpose for coming here is. Mo Luo said. Hearing that, Su Yun started to think. Su Yun was actually not too worried about being handed over to the Supreme Sect. He was not familiar with the Supreme Sect, so maybe the Supreme Sect would not directly kill him, maybe he would advise him before killing him. If he really had lost his memories and not lost his mind, he would definitely choose to join the Supreme Sect to save his life. But, if he joined the Supreme Sect, he would never be able to come out again. Sooner or later, he would die. We have nothing to do with the Supreme Sect. Why would they come to the true Devil Sect? Su Yun said. Yeah, this subordinate also feels that it's strange. The magic channel was also confused. Su Yun exhaled, shook his head, he was too lazy to think about it and said, Come, let's go to the main hall to take a look. Yes, sir. The magic channel cupped his fists, and followed Su Yun along the small path towards the Earth Devil Hall. However, before the two of them could take a few steps, a devil cultivator walked towards them. When the devil cultivator saw Su Yun, he quickened his pace, then knelt down on one knee and said, Greetings Lord Demon Lord, Lord Demon Lord, the Vice Sect leader invites you, please head to the Earth Devil Hall quickly. Su Yun frowned. Got it, I'm going to the Earth Devil Hall now. With that, the devil cultivator led the way. It was fine if the devil cultivator did not come, but the moment he came, Su Yun knew the purpose of the Supreme Sect. It was most likely because of the matter of emptying the place, otherwise the devil cultivator would not have run over to let him go. Su Yun could not understand why the Supreme Sect would come here. With that thought in mind, Su Yun walked towards the Earth Devil Hall with heavy footsteps. The Earth Devil Hall was a dignified and grand hall, it was built like a hall, and at the entrance stood two gigantic Earth Demon Lions, but these two Earth Demon Lions were not statues, but living creatures. They had the bodies of elephants, their eyes were red, their entire bodies were filled with devil chi, their sharp claws could easily tear apart a first-stage sky spirit master existence. They were given the task of guarding the Earth Devil Hall. When Su Yun walked over, the two Earth Demon Lions' eyes had already landed on Su Yun at the same time. Bang! At this moment, a deep sound erupted from the Earth Devil Hall. Following that was a gloomy and angry roar. What does your Supreme Sect mean by this? When did we kidnap a disciple who wants to be at ease to the true Devil Sect? Do we have nothing better to do? He has always been clear with my true Devil Sect. Why would we do that? From the sound of it, it seemed to be the voice of the sixth elder. We do not know the reason, nor do we want to know. I only ask one question, is Su Yun here? If he is, please let him out. An emotionless mechanized voice came out again. Su Yun is my true Devil Sect's Demon Lord. How can you meet him whenever you want? If you are unwilling, then we have nothing to say. We can only report this matter to the sect and ask for their decision. The mechanical voice sounded again. Hold on. Octagon Aniseed's voice came out. This matter still needs to be discussed. We do not know why you are looking for our Demon Lord. Can you please explain yourself? There's no need to say any more, we only want Su Yun. The other party didn't seem to want to say even a single word more. Supreme Sect's unreasonable words had indeed made the devil cultivator unhappy. Hearing that, Su Yun immediately quickened his pace and walked into the hall. When they saw Su Yun walking in, everyone's gazes were focused on him. Demon Lord? The main character is here. A wry smile appeared on his face. Demon Lord, you shouldn't have come. Standing Demon shook his head. If I didn't come, this matter would be even more difficult to explain. Su Yun heaved a sigh of relief, cupped his fists towards the crowd, and then turned to look at the Supreme Sect people who were dressed in white robes with golden patterns. I heard a rough idea from outside, and everyone seems to want to take me away. I wonder how I, Su Yun, have offended all of you, to need all of you to go through so much trouble to come to the true devil sect to capture me? Su Yun said indifferently. Did you save Su Shantian and the other disciples who wanted to be at ease? The leader said expressionlessly. Su Yun frowned. I did save them, and my parents are indeed safe now, but to be exact, I did not save them. My parents? Are you the son of Su Shantian and Shin Shueshue? The man asked again. That's right. Since that's the case, then please come with us. I have already been sent to the Supreme Sect, and Su Shantian and Shin Shueshue are also the main culprits of blaspheming the Holy Maiden and insulting the Supreme Divine Tao. We must capture them and hand them over to the sect for punishment. What if I don't go with you? We can only forcefully take him. The man said indifferently. How dare you? What do you think this is? Standing Demon roared. Whoever dares to act recklessly will be killed on the spot, and will not be let off lightly. We are all pursuing the Supreme Divine Tao, and in order to protect the sacred reputation of the Divine Way, we are willing to die 10,000 times. Is the true devil sect planning to go against the wishes of our Divine Way and become our enemy? The man raised his head and looked at the standing demon. The true devil sect has never been afraid of anyone. Even if it's your supreme sect, we are not afraid. Standing demon clenched his teeth and said, Since everyone is unwilling, I can only return to the sect to report this matter. Please prepare as soon as possible to welcome the baptism of my supreme divine Tao. With that, he was about to leave. Hearing that, Su Yun did not dare to let them leave, and immediately said, This matter has nothing to do with the true devil sect. I am not the demon lord that they speak of. If your supreme sect wants to take someone, just take me. The true devil sect has nothing to do with this matter. Hearing that, the man turned around. Then you plan to come with us? Of course not. Su Yun shook his head. Although I am not a member of the true devil sect, it does not mean that I will submit to you. If he was trapped in the supreme divine Tao, he would definitely be brainwashed, and at that time, he would only be devoured by the limitless profound Qi. How could Su Yun dare to go to the supreme sect? You are not a member of the true devil sect, and you are not willing to return with us, so we can only forcefully take you away. The man said, then waved his hand, and the experts of the supreme sect behind him rushed towards Su Yun. In the blink of an eye, there were people all around him. His speed was extremely fast, as though he had teleported. Su Yun's eyes congealed and was about to move. However, in the next second, a figure suddenly scuttled over, with a speed that even the Spirit Emperor could not react to. He quickly shuttled back and forth between the Supreme Sect people. In an instant, blood splattered in all directions. Chapter 700. Su Yun was startled for a moment, only to see the corpses of the Supreme Sect people falling to the ground. All of them were dismembered, their bodies split into 5 pieces. They were already dead to the point that they couldn't be more dead, their souls scattered in the air. As for the remaining leader, Wu Xinzi, he had yet to regain his senses. When he raised his eyes to look at the person who had killed his comrade, he felt his neck tighten. Then, his feet left the ground, and his entire body was lifted up. With a glance, he realized that Octagon Aniseed had already made his move. His blood-red eyes were wide open, and his innocent face, which could be said to be cute, was now filled with malevolence, like a ferocious demon. Hey kid, were you threatening our true devil sect just now? Octagon Aniseed slowly opened his mouth, his voice revealing endless coldness. The man's neck was deformed from the force exerted by his 8 teeth. He could no longer breathe, and it was even more difficult for him to speak. However, there was no fear in his eyes, nor was there any fear on his face. He only said in a hoarse voice, Supreme Sect is not afraid of any sect, and will not let go of any existence that insults the Supreme Divine Tao. Are you saying that our true devil sect will be afraid of any sect, and will let go of any sect that is our enemy? He laughed coldly. Wu Xinzi snorted a few times, but before he could say anything, he heard Kacha with a crisp sound. Heartless head was directly twisted off by the 8 teeth. When the surrounding demon sect elders saw this, they all widened their eyes. Octagon Aniseed nonchalantly reached out his hand and pulled out the man's heart. He then threw the corpse to the side and sat on a chair to eat in big mouthfuls, as if nothing had happened. Standing Demon and the others were still in shock. Su Yun was also startled for a moment, and only after a long while did he regain his senses. He took a deep breath and shook his head. Sect Master, by doing this, you are clearly trying to start a war with the Supreme Sect for me? It's not worth it. I'm not doing this for you. Octagon Aniseed swallowed all of the heart into his mouth, wiped his blood-stained mouth, and said, I am doing this to protect the reputation of the true Devil Sect. The people of the Supreme Sect are looking down on my true Devil Sect, and insulting the true Devil Sect in public. They are guilty of death. Furthermore, even if we don't kill them, they won't let our true Devil Sect off. If I leave the true Devil Sect, they will definitely not find trouble with the true Devil Sect anymore. The true Devil Sect will also be able to stay out of this. Su Yun said. No, Su Yun, you are thinking too simply. Actually, from the very beginning, no matter if it was empty or the real Devil Sect, they had already been included in the Supreme Sect's list. No matter what we do, we will not be able to make the Supreme Sect give up. Octagon Aniseed shook his head. Everyone was puzzled when they heard that. Why do you say that? Why? Isn't that simple? The people of Supreme Sect are unreasonable. In their hearts, there is only the Supreme Divine Tao, everything else is not in their eyes. But faith is faith, you cannot lose your mind because of faith. Do you dare to say that the people of Supreme Sect are idiots? This, if you want to bring people to lure the holy maiden Su Luluo, with the intention of injecting the clear memory pill into her body, erasing her memories and saving her from the Supreme Sect, this matter is indeed very serious, but the holy maiden is safe and sound, and the matter has not developed to the point of no return. Even if the people of Supreme Sect want to protect the Supreme Divine Tao, protect the dignity of the holy maiden and the sect, there is no need for them to empty themselves out. You have to know, if a sect wants to hand over the pillar of the sect, how great would the consequences and impact be? If he did this, not only would his own sect lose face, his reputation would be ruined, and he would be ridiculed by the people of the world. It would also cause the hearts of the disciples of the sect to tremble, causing their hearts to be unstable. The people of the Supreme Sect would know this, and the people of the Supreme Sect would also know this. The Supreme Sect's faith is in the Supreme Divine Tao, and everyone in the sect has the goal of chasing after the Supreme Divine Tao. They do not really like to fight and kill, nor do they want to waste their time on the grudges between the sects, so even if they want to punish themselves, the best way to solve this is to pressure the Supreme Sect, and let them deal with it. This way, the relationship between the two sects will not deteriorate, and they can save their face. However, the Supreme Sect did not do that. They used forceful methods to force them to hand over the person and bring them back to the sect to be dealt with. This way, it is definitely not a suitable solution. The people of the Supreme Sect are unreasonable, it's not strange that they would do this. Su Yun interjected at the last minute. Octagon Aniseed shook his head. Unreasonable depends on when. In fact, there are times when the Supreme Sect is much smarter than we imagined. For example now, the reason why they are so unreasonable and domineering is because they have a purpose. They had already handed over their desire to the Supreme Sect, and their goal had been achieved. However, they did not expect that they would give them an extremely important message. Or rather, good news. What message? This time, there is also Su Yun from the True Devil Sect. Hearing that, Su Yun frowned. What does that mean? It means that the people of the Supreme Sect have an excuse to make a move on my true devil sect. Octagon Aniseed walked to the front of a dismembered corpse, reached out his hand and took out his heart, then bit down on it as if he was eating a fruit. Blood spurted out, and as he ate, he said vaguely, "They can easily settle this matter, protect the sect's face, and preserve the reputation of the Supreme Divine Tao, but they did not do so. Instead, they are arrogant and overbearing. Why? Because they wanted to use this opportunity to preach. Whether it is the emptying or the true devil sect, once they have an excuse, they will not give up." As soon as he said this, the expressions of everyone present turned serious. I have already received news that the Supreme Sect has already quietly made a move on the dozen or so small sects in the surrounding realms. Because the Supreme Sect's reputation is not good, many people are extremely fearful, and every day, a large number of disciples in the Supreme Sect die because of cultivating the Supreme Divine Tao, so the Supreme Sect's strength is quickly weakening, the number of disciples is quickly decreasing, they must absorb new blood, in order to maintain the development of the sect, to maintain the Supreme Divine Tao in their hearts, so they must absorb more people into the Supreme Sect, and most of the people from these small sects have already been successfully converted by them, joining the Supreme Divine Tao, and those who do not have all been killed by them. However, the annexation of these small sects can no longer keep up with the speed at which their disciples are dying. Therefore, they can only annex a super sect in order to allow the Supreme Sect to rise to the next level. But the Supreme Sect has offended two superpowers. If our true devil sect joins hands with them, even if we cannot destroy the Supreme Sect, we can still protect ourselves. Standing Demon said, "No, you have underestimated the strength of the Supreme Sect." Octagon Aniseed shook his head. "Let me tell you the truth. Even if the true devil sect and empty joined hands, they would still not be a match for the Supreme Sect. The true power of the Supreme Sect is not something we can imagine." "What?" Standing Demon and the others all sucked in a breath of cold air. "What does that have to do with this matter? The Supreme Sect is here to find an excuse. I have left the true devil sect, they have no excuse to use. So they won't make a move on the true devil sect, right?" Su Yun said solemnly. "Excuses can be made." Octagon Aniseed laughed bitterly. "Furthermore, even if you leave, it will be useless. The people of Supreme Sect are already unreasonable. Could it be that you still have any excuses? In fact, it was also an extremely wrong decision to hand over the desire to be free to the Supreme Sect. Let's not talk about the damage to the reputation and the hearts of the people after the desire to be given to the Supreme Sect. Just by doing so, it had prompted the Supreme Sect's plan to succeed. Perhaps the Venerable One thought that since he had handed over the person, the Supreme Sect would not do anything to him, but in reality, he was completely wrong. I believe that within a few months, the desire to be free will be released by the Supreme Sect and return to the empty realm. Oh, why? I only need to instill the concept of the Supreme Divine Tao into him, brainwash him, turn him into his own people, and then put him in the empty realm to preach. Then, with the reputation and status of the empty realm, it is only a matter of time before the empty realm falls into the enemy's hands. At that time, with the help of the Supreme Sect, the empty realm will definitely not be able to protect them. What's funny is that the emptiness realm expert is still hoping that he can bring peace to them, but he doesn't know that the Supreme Sect's tiger claws have already extended towards them. When Octagon Aniseed's words fell into everyone's ears, they broke out in a cold sweat. When the empty realm is swallowed up, the Supreme Sect will do his best to deal with my true devil sect. The matter with the Holy Maiden is just a fuse. Whether it happens or not, the Supreme Sect will make a move on us. It's just a matter of time. So, the reason why I killed these people today is to show off to the Supreme Sect, to tell them that my true devil sect is not afraid of his Supreme Sect. Octagon Aniseed wiped the blood off his mouth and said indifferently, "Standing Demon, quickly report this matter to the sect master. request the sect master to increase the number of disciples stationed at the entrance of the true devil realm, and at the same time, send more spies to the entrance of the supreme realm to keep an eye on the supreme sect's every move. Yes, Vice Sect Leader. Octagon Aniseed cupped his fists and immediately ran down. When the others saw this, they also began to move. Only Su Yun was left with a serious face. Demon Lord, what are you thinking? Octagon Aniseed stretched lazily, then curled up his body and asked with a smile. Now that the Supreme Sect has an excuse, I think with their personality, it won't be long before they send out their forces to attack the true Devil Sect. Su Yun said indifferently. Hearing that, Octagon Aniseed was silent for a moment, then let out a sigh. You're right, but even so, we are not afraid. The Devil Cultivator is worthy of the heavens and earth. No matter how strong the Supreme Sect is, we will not hand you over. Our true Devil Sect is not empty. If they want to fight, then let's fight. As he spoke, he started to laugh. His smile was brilliant, revealing a sense of fearlessness. Su Yun looked at Octagon Aniseed quietly. At this moment, he seemed to understand what a true devil should look like. That's right, what's there to be afraid of? If he wants to fight, then let's fight. If he were to cower and compromise like this, would it be peace? Time is of the essence, I should go down and prepare. Su Yun, this matter actually does not have much to do with you. I suggest that you stay in the true Devil Sect to cultivate. As for the battle with the Supreme Sect, do not interfere for now. Octagon Aniseed said, and then walked out of the Earth Demon Hall. In fact, relatively speaking, Su Yun's cultivation was not high among these people. Although he had experienced the training in the quiet world, he was still at the peak of the 5th stage of the Sky Spirit Master. In the battle with the Supreme Sect, even the Spirit Emperor would not be able to guarantee his own safety, let alone him. However, should he just stay out of it? Chapter 701. Oh? Wuxin Zi and his group went to the true Devil Sect, but they were all killed? In the Holy Spirit Hall, the Emptiness Realm expert stared at Gu Zizai, who was kneeling on the ground, and said, That's right. Gu Zizai laughed. I never thought that these true Devil Sects would be so stupid and reckless. This subordinate thinks that it won't be long before the Supreme Sect makes things difficult for the true Devil Sect. It is said that the one who made a move this time was the Vice Sect Master of the true Devil Sect, Chi, who had a high status and represented the true Devil Sect. I'm afraid that the true Devil Sect would not be able to resolve this matter easily. It is only a matter of time before the two families start fighting. At this point, a strong light of excitement flashed past Gu Zizai's eyes. You're right. Venerable Emptiness Realm expert nodded and said indifferently, If the true Devil Sect and the Supreme Sect were to fight, we can take advantage of the situation and help the Supreme Sect. At the same time, we can divide up the true Devil Sect and seize their resources. The people of the Supreme Sect do not care about fame and fortune. The reason they attacked the true Devil Sect was only to protect the holiness and purity of the Supreme Divine Tao, this kind of illusory thing. Since they want spiritual things, then we want material things. The Venerable One is wise. Gu Zizai hurriedly called out. Send more people to keep an eye on the borders of the Demon Realm and the Supreme Gate. If there's any movement, report it to me immediately. Yes, sir. Gu Zizai nodded. And Venerable Emptiness Realm expert nodded, then said indifferently, Is there any movement from the Martial Imperial Palace? There are no movements for the time being. It is said that Xin Shueshue was brought back to the hall by Xin Wu Huang and was placed under house arrest. This subordinate does not know, but there is one thing that this subordinate must inform the Venerable One of. Gu Zizai said. What is it? Someone said that before Shen Wu Huang took Xin Shueshue away, he made a trip to the ultimate martial world. Venerable Emptiness Realm expert frowned. What is he doing there? This subordinate does not know, but he brought back a young lady. It is said that this young lady is a descendant of the Shin family that he placed in the Sky Martial Continent a long time ago. Shin Wu Huang has the intention to nurture this young lady. Venerable One, the Martial Imperial Palace is the representative of the martial power of the myriad heavens realm. Shin Wu Huang must have some intentions for doing this, I'm afraid. Gu Zizai lowered his voice and said, "Why do you think so?" Venerable Emptiness stared at Gu Zizai and asked indifferently. Because when Shin Wu Huang nurtured the talents of the Martial Imperial Palace, he would never place them in a lowly realm like the Sky Martial Continent, and this young lady. Not only is she the daughter of his most beloved son, she is also a genius that is rarely seen in 1,000 years in the Martial Imperial Palace. It is said that when Shin Wu Huang went to welcome this young lady, he used the 9 Immortals' carriage, and 10,000 people welcomed him. The scene was extremely grand, as though everyone in the world knew about it, and it is enough to show how much importance Shin Wu Huang places on her. Venerable One, no matter what, I feel that we should still do some investigation regarding this young lady. Shin Wu Huang no longer places me in his eyes. If he grows stronger in the future, wouldn't he eat us alive? The more Gu Zizai spoke, the slower he became, but his voice became more and more condensed. When the Venerable One heard this, his deep eyes were already filled with an indescribable seriousness. He thought for a while, then slowly opened his mouth. "Send some more people to keep an eye on the Martial Imperial Palace." After leaving the True Devil sect, Su Yun rushed straight towards the Wanhua realm. The determination of Octagon Aniseed had already caused the calm True Devil sect to stir once again. Although what Octagon Aniseed said was the truth, and there would definitely be disputes between the True Devil sect and the Supreme sect, Su Yun had always thought that this dispute was caused by him. Ever since he became the Devil sect's demon lord, Su Yun realized that he was becoming more and more useless. He did not contribute even half an inch to the Devil sect, but instead caused trouble for the Devil sect every day. Furthermore, this time, he was going to deal with the unprecedentedly huge sect, the Supreme sect. If he still didn't do anything, how could he let it go? Stepping into the Wanhua realm, at the moment the Wanhua realm was in a mess. After experiencing the devastation of the great battles, the Wanhua realm could be said to be in pieces, and the battle between the Supreme Experts caused the realm that was once a paradise on Earth to change beyond recognition. The Realm Master had invested a large amount of Realm Tree energy to rebuild it, and at the same time, sealed the connection between the Wanhua realm and the outside world, so people from the outside world could no longer casually enter. However, he had no choice but to head to the Realm Tree to pay his respects to the Realm Master. However, just as he arrived at the Realm Tree, he was informed by Rong Myuk that the Realm Master had already left the Wanhua realm. Su Yun asked where he was going, but Rong Myuk refused to answer. This was a secret matter of the Wanhua realm, so Su Yun could not ask, so he could only leave. Sword Ancestor had already been settled down by the Realm Master. Su Yun went to pay his respects to Sword Ancestor, and then hurriedly rushed to the dark place inside the Linglong Mountain. Stepping into the dark place, it was still that miraculous and pitch-black river, Old Man. Old Man! Su Yun shouted loudly by the river. After an unknown period of time, an impatient voice came out from behind Su Yun. "So noisy. So noisy. Which guy is making a ruckus here?" Hearing that, Su Yun was immediately overjoyed. He turned around, only to see the old man with a crooked body and a wretched appearance appearing behind him again. Seeing that, without saying a word, Su Yun immediately took out a profound coin card that was glowing with a golden light from his storage ring and pressed it on the old man's chest. "Tell me the specific location of the clear sky holy robe." Since he had made his decision, he immediately took action. Time waited for no one. The conflict between the Supreme Sect and the real Devil Sect had already arisen. The thoughts of the people of the Supreme Sect were so sharp, the grudge between the two sects could no longer be resolved. or it could even be said that it was difficult to delay. After the dark place was baptized by the Dark Demon Palace, there were fewer aboriginals. Adding to the chaos in the Wanhua realm, the number of people in the dark place had decreased greatly, and the order here had become much more stable. However, compared to the entire Wanhua realm, the current dark place was the most harmonious place. The realm tree had already begun an extremely severe punishment. In order to maintain the order of the Wanhua realm and allow the Wanhua realm to continue developing, this time, the people of Realm Tree had put away their past kindness and punished anyone who caused trouble with torture. In a dark corner, which interface do you need to go to, esteemed guest? A little demon with red horns on the bridge of his nose rubbed his skinny palms and said while grinning, "Sword World." Su Yun put on the cloak that he had prepared in the storage ring, and at the same time, pinned the demon lord's bone to his waist. If the bone was not worn, it would just be an ordinary mask. Sword World? Hearing Su Yun's words, the little demon was immediately startled. What is it? Are there no cracks that lead to the Sword World? Su Yun lowered his voice. Yes, but guest, you don't seem to be from the Sword World. Going to the Sword World, I'm afraid it will be dangerous. The little demon swallowed his saliva and said, "Just lead the way." Su Yun put on his hood, and his pale face was immediately covered by the haze. After the little demon heard this, he did not say anything else. He extended his hand and said, "Guest, please follow me." Then, he quickly led Su Yun deeper into the dark place. After walking for half a day, the little demon lord led Su Yun to a hill. The center of the hill had already split open, and a red and blue light shone out from the crevice. Standing in front of the crevice and looking inside, one could see that the crevice was unfathomable, and the myriad of lights inside were extremely dazzling. If you fall into it, you will be able to enter the Sword World. The little demon said. Where will you enter the Sword World? Su Yun said. Hearing this question, the little demon's face turned ugly again, its body trembled slightly, and said, "Fierce! Evil Sword Forest! Evil Sword Forest!" Su Yun raised his eyebrows, he sized up the little demon again, and said, "You seem to understand the Sword World quite well? Your cultivation seems to be only at the first stage of the Sky Spirit Master, but you are so familiar with the Sword World. Have you been to the Sword World before?" This. Sigh, customer, to be honest, I have stayed in the Sword World for 5 years before. But customer, do not misunderstand, I am not from the Sword World, but I accidentally entered the Sword World through this crevice. In these 5 years, I have really narrowly escaped death. The Sword World is filled with bloodthirsty swordsmen, they fight all day, and draw their swords at each other. After I mistakenly entered the Sword World, I have been hiding here and there for the past 5 years, looking for a way to leave the Sword World. In these 5 years, I have been really scared, and every day is like a year. If not for luck, I do not know how many times I have died. At this point, the little demon's body couldn't help but tremble a few times. Hearing that, Su Yun rubbed his chin and thought for a moment, patted the black cloak on his body, then took out a piece of paper that he had prepared before from his storage ring and handed it over to the little demon. Write down all the information you know about the Sword World on this, and then draw the map of the Evil Sword Forest to the Mighty Sword Valley. I will pay you another 300,000 profound coin. Hearing that, the little demon did not hesitate. He immediately took the paper, activated the profound strength, and wrote on the paper. After about the time it takes for an incense stick to burn, the little demon stopped and handed the paper over. This lowly one only knows this much. Su Yun took it and looked at it. However, it only recorded less than half of the map and the main points of the Sword World, which was the area from the Evil Sword Forest to the place where she left the Sword World. However, this was enough. Su Yun kept the map into his storage ring, and once again transferred 300,000 profound coin from the profound coin to the little demon, and then directly jumped into the crevice. Crash! As he entered the crevice, light exploded, and the spatial aura once again wrapped around Su Yun's body, as though his soul was about to leave his body. The strange feeling lasted for only about 10 breaths of time, and then it dissipated. Su Yun's consciousness also instantly showed a gap, as though he had fainted, but he quickly recovered. When he opened his eyes, there was already a gust of wind blowing past his face, and clouds rippled in front of his eyes. He looked around and realized that he was actually in midair. He immediately urged the immortal mystical scarlet blood sword, stepped on the sword, and slowly descended. Below them was an extremely lush forest, Evil Sword Forest. Chapter 702. Crack. A crisp sound rang out on the dark mountaintop. A young girl wearing a dark green Blade Master outfit was carrying a dark green demonic long sword as she walked towards the center of the mountain. Behind her, there were corpses all over the ground. None of the corpses were complete. Some had their chests pierced through, some had their heads chopped off, and some had their bodies split in half. The scene was extremely terrifying, like an Azura hell. Floating in the air were the souls of these corpses. They were fleeing in panic, wailing like ghosts and howling like gods. Helpless expressions could be seen on every soul. At the center of the mountain stood a middle-aged man. The man had a goatee and fiery red hair. He held a long, slender, one-handed saber in his hand. The edge of the saber was emitting flames and looked very mighty. He stared at the girl who was walking towards him step by step. His eyes darkened, and his twisted face revealed the anger and hatred in his heart. "Why are you doing this?" The man growled in a low voice. His voice was abnormally hoarse. "When did I, Lang Duanshan, offend you? Why did you poison more than 300 people from my sect? Why? The roar reverberated throughout the entire mountain. However, the girl didn't say a word. The man couldn't hold it in any longer. He looked away from the corpses on the ground behind the young girl. With a roar, he raised his sword and rushed forward. The edge of the saber burst out a tongue of flame that was several feet long, attacking the young girl. However, her slender body was extremely agile and easily dodged the tongues of fire. Then, she moved quickly and turned into a series of afterimages. She surrounded the man and attacked him from all 4 directions. 4 dark green swords pierced forward. It was so fast that it caused one's heart to palpitate, and so fierce that it caused one's hair to stand on end. The man didn't even have the time to defend himself and was pierced by these shadows. His body shattered, and in an instant, the 4 figures all exploded, and a thick poisonous fog spread out in all directions. Ah! The man's skin and flesh began to corrode, and his limbs fell off. In the blink of an eye, his entire body turned into a pile of rotten flesh, and he died in an extremely miserable way. Upon seeing that, the young lady expressionlessly took out a porcelain bottle from the interspatial bag on her waist and made a grabbing motion in the air. The souls that were still lingering in the air were all collected by the porcelain bottle. Following that, she walked towards the man's rotten flesh and picked up his interspatial bag. She tore it open and took out the items inside. Finally, she pinched out a piece of lustrous gemstone. The girl looked at the gem carefully, and her green eyes revealed a strong desire to fight. "With this chi-increasing mysterious stone, I will be able to challenge Stone Sword Mo Changwen." After saying that in a deep voice, she put the stone into her interspatial bag and turned to go down the mountain. Clack! A soft sound came from the forest. Su Yun kept the immortal mystical scarlet blood sword, used his cape to cover the sword sheath, and walked straight into the forest. This was the Fierce Sword Forest. The Fierce Sword Forest was extremely large, and the trees in the forest were more than 10 meters tall. It was said that this was the only way to the north and south of the Sword World, and because the forest was extremely large and the trees were dense, there were often bandits that ran amok here. Many cruel and tyrannical people would hide here to avoid their enemies, which was why this forest was called the Fierce Sword Forest. Su Yun wandered around the forest for an entire morning, and after figuring out the direction and route, he set off. The dispute between the Supreme Sect and the True Devil Sect was about to erupt, so Su Yun would naturally not stand idly by the side and watch. He could also take this opportunity to test out the rumored holy maiden of the Divine Way in the Supreme Sect, the little sister he had never met before, Su Luluo. It was just that even a super-strong expert like Su Zizai was beaten into a sorry state by Su Luluo, and had his memories erased. With Su Yun's little cultivation, what was the point of seeking death? Therefore, without the protection of a sharp weapon, he could not act rashly. So. Suddenly, the sound of something tearing through the air came from above his head. Su Yun's expression tensed up. He immediately stuck close to the big tree at the side and looked up, only to see a spirit cultivator holding onto a sharp sword that was stained with blood, smashing through the dense trees and flying crazily. His body was covered in sword wounds, and as he rushed forward, he would turn his head from time to time. From the looks of it, he seemed to be running for his life. Sure enough, not long after the spirit cultivator flew away, another spirit cultivator rushed over from behind. The spirit cultivator was covered in silver armor, holding onto a sharp sword that was close to 2 meters long. The sharp sword was extremely thin, like a huge needle. When he flew past Su Yun, he suddenly looked at the big tree that Su Yun was leaning on, but he did not stop, and continued to chase after his target. In just an instant, Su Yun felt a chill run down his spine. The two spirit cultivators that had just passed by had cultivations above his own, and were probably close to the spirit emperor. Although Su Yun was wearing the Long Zhen's wristband, he was still captured by the other party. From the looks of it, the evil sword forest was indeed filled with experts, and the vicious ones were wreaking havoc. The Long Zhen's wristband that Huiro Mu had gifted him was not of much use to the existence of the spirit emperor. If the other party were to deliberately peek at his cultivation, it would be very difficult to hide his cultivation with the help of this magic treasure. Su Yun had also fought with the experts of the Cloud Heavenly Palace before, but compared to the two just now, the people of the Cloud Heavenly Palace were still too young and inexperienced. He took a deep breath and immediately turned around, heading to the other side to avoid encountering the two. However, before he could go far, a thick smell of blood suddenly filled the air. Su Yun frowned. He immediately took out the death sword from his back and changed his direction, planning to stay away from the smell of blood. But at this moment, a cold snort suddenly came out. "Are you also here to snatch the divine stone? Since you're here, don't leave. Leave your life behind." As the sound of his voice faded, more than 10 trees in the forest suddenly exploded, blooming in all directions. An extremely sharp sword chi pierced straight towards them. Su Yun's heart sank in a split second. He activated the 7th tier Imperial equipment. Clang! The chi cover protected his body. Dong! When the sword chi struck the chi cover, it immediately exploded. Su Yun was forced back half a step by the force. He stared at the direction where the sword chi came from, and the devil chi around his body scattered in all directions like tentacles. "Sir, you misunderstand. I am just passing by. I do not know anything about the divine stone that you are talking about," Su Yun said coldly. "That's what you all say, and then when I relax my guard, you kill me again. It's a pity that I won't be fooled again. Die!" A cold voice exploded out, and a figure quickly scuttled over. Su Yun only saw a flash of cold light, and a sharp sword had unknowingly approached his neck. Clang! The chi cover rose again, blocking the incomparably sharp sword. Su Yun looked over, only to see a man with disheveled hair, dressed in a black blade master outfit, but his entire body was covered in blood, wielding a sword and attacking fiercely. In the blink of an eye, the man had already unleashed hundreds of sword strikes. The sword strikes were terrifying and sinister. The sword chi and sword intent were overbearing. Looking at his strength, he was at least at the 8th stage of the Sky Spirit Master. Su Yun's face turned cold. Without saying a word, he kept his imperial equipment, pulled out his death sword and swept it towards him. The moment the sword was released, countless sword images appeared. More than 1,000 swords were split apart, as if they were being swallowed by a ferocious beast. That person's pupils dilated a few times. Before he could block, he was swallowed by the sharp sword, and the Blade Master outfit on his body was immediately turned into strips of cloth. His skin and flesh were covered in sword wounds, and fresh blood gushed out. Huh! The man's eyes widened as he looked at Su Yun in shock. In terms of sword speed, Su Yun was not afraid of anyone. However, the man did not give up. With a sinister look on his face, he growled and rushed over again. He quickly twisted his steps, his body taking on the shape of a snake, alternating between left and right. As he ran, his body created 12 afterimages, and his real body moved back and forth among the afterimages, making it impossible to find his real body. However, Su Yun did not even look at him, and looked at the incoming man indifferently. Go to hell! The man got close to Su Yun, roared, and attacked again. However, Su Yun's hand that was holding onto the death sword changed into the Imperial equipment in a split second, and the chi cover rose again. This speed of activating the profound strength and summoning the magic treasure was even faster than his sword. What? The man was already shocked to the point that his heart was palpitating with fear. When had he ever seen such a fast activation of the profound strength? Just then, Su Yun instantly withdrew the Imperial equipment and pulled out the death sword. He held onto the sword with one hand and grabbed onto the man's shoulder with the other. The mournful death sword slashed straight at the man's arm. It was so fast that no one could believe their eyes. Was this still the speed that a human should have? Even an immortal wouldn't be as fast as him, right? Crack! His arm was broken, and blood spurted out from the man's shoulder. Miserable cries reverberated in the air. Following that, Su Yun kicked the man in the stomach, causing him to fall more than 10 meters away and fall to the ground, trembling. I've already said that I'm just passing by. Why won't you believe me? Why must you threaten me with death? Su Yun's eyes gradually turned red, the devil chi surged. He walked towards the man step by step, his entire body filled with uncontrollable killing intent. The man staggered backwards, looking at Su Yun in fear, his face distorted. He shouted, "Don't kill me! Don't kill me!" Suddenly, the man seemed to have thought of something. His other hand trembled as he reached towards the space bag at his waist, and after rummaging around for a while, he took out a purple stone the size of an egg, and directly threw it at Su Yun, shouting, "At most, I'll give you the divine stone." After throwing the stone, he crawled up with all his might and fled in a sorry state. Su Yun's gaze landed on the stone that fell in front of his feet. After thinking for a while, he picked it up. The stone's entire body was purple, like a crystal. Its surface was suffused with a circle of lustrous light, and its interior seemed to contain endless stars. It was extremely dazzling, and what was strange was that when it was held in the palm of his hand, it actually had an indescribable suction force. It was not heavy, but when placed in the palm of his hand, as time passed, Su Yun felt that it was getting heavier and heavier, heavier and heavier. What was going on? Su Yun was suspicious. At this moment, the sound of footsteps came from afar. His expression tensed up, and he immediately kept the stone. With a tap of his foot, he took out his flying sword and flew into the distance. Chapter 703. After getting far away from the strange footsteps, Su Yun pushed his speed to the limit and rushed forward. The other party seemed to have sensed Su Yun's existence and wanted to chase after him with all his might, but his speed was no match for Su Yun's, and he was still left behind. Su Yun stepped on his flying sword and flew for a period of time before landing. Although flying high in the sky could speed up his journey, if he met other spirit cultivator with a higher cultivation than him, this kind of action would be a provocation to the other party and cause trouble. Therefore, flying close to the ground was the most convenient way to travel. The evil sword forest was extremely huge. Su Yun walked in one direction for about a day, but he did not leave. Instead, along the way, he met many corpses, blood, and places destroyed by sword chi. There were not many fierce beasts in the entire forest, and there were only corpses. Most of these fierce beasts were killed by the spirit cultivator, and there were even more corpses of the spirit cultivator than these fierce beasts. Every once in a while, he would be able to see the places where the trees had been cut down and the ground had been destroyed. In the end, it's the evil sword forest. It seems like there are fights everywhere, Su Yun thought. On this day, if it wasn't for his fast legs, he might have been caught up by some bandits and killed. After traveling for a day, the sky darkened. Su Yun found a branch and sat down cross-legged, circulating his chi to recover. After recuperating for a while, he took out the drawing drawn by the little demon and glanced at it. At this speed, I'll be able to leave the evil sword forest in another day. If everything goes smoothly, I might be able to reach the mighty sword valley in less than 10 days, but I don't know where that thing is located in the mighty sword valley. Thinking about it, Su Yun could not help but frown. Finding something was not an easy task, not to mention that he did not know the exact location of this thing. Right now, the only thing he could rely on was the heavenly seeking treasure bell. He hoped that it would be able to tell him his whereabouts. Su Yun exhaled, feeling that his calm state of mind had once again become a little chaotic. He shook his head and took out the stone he had obtained from the storage ring. He held it in his hand and looked at it carefully. The stone did not look like a magic treasure, but more like a material. He carefully injected a bit of profound chi into the stone, but when the profound chi entered the stone actually produced an indescribable aura. In that moment, Su Yun felt that he did not have much strength left in his body, and the stone suddenly became heavy, almost causing him to lose his grip. Su Yun was shocked and quickly threw the stone into his storage ring. He sat down cross-legged and carefully inspected his body, only to discover to his astonishment that the profound energy in his body had actually decreased by a third. What was going on? Su Yun's brain could not wrap around it. After thinking for a long time, he still did not know the reason. Most likely, it had something to do with the stone. This stone is definitely not an ordinary one. Looks like I'll have to do some research, Su Yun thought. He sat cross-legged on the ground for a few hours, and after recovering his profound chi, he stood up and took advantage of the night to continue his journey. However, not long after, a silent sword chi suddenly shot out from behind him and smashed onto Su Yun's body without any warning. Su Yun was caught off guard and fell from the sky. The sword chi passed through his protective profound chi and hit his skin and flesh, but it only scratched his skin and did not injure his muscles and bones. Although the injury was not serious, the place where the sword chi struck sent waves of numbness, and the numbness spread throughout his body like an electric current. Su Yun wanted to stand up, but suddenly felt that he did not have much strength left in his body. Su Yun extended his hand and pulled out the death sword with some difficulty, and stared ahead vigilantly. A figure holding a long sword slowly walked out from the front. It was a skinny but very young-looking youth. He was wearing a dark green blade master cloth, which was covered in blood, but it was not damaged. From this, it could be seen that the blood belonged to someone else. There was a cross-shaped scar on his face, his cheeks were sunken, and his eyes were filled with ruthlessness. His left hand was holding onto a sword, while his right hand was holding onto a bloody head. Su Yun's gaze landed on the head, only to see that it was rather familiar. It was the spirit cultivator who had one of his arms cut off by Su Yun earlier. The youth threw the head over and smiled at Su Yun. "I think you know him, right?" This guy said that the divine stone was snatched away by a person wearing a black cloak. "I extracted your aura from his wound and chased after him. All right, after wasting so much of my time, it's time to end it. Hand over the divine stone." The youth laughed, his smile seemingly harmless. "Oh, so it's to steal the divine stone." Hearing that, Su Yun was suddenly enlightened. Otherwise, why would a 5th stage sky spirit master fellow like you be worth it for me to spend so much effort to chase after you? The youth spat out a mouthful of saliva and laughed in disdain. Hearing that, Su Yun was silent for a moment. After that, he took out the divine stone from his storage ring and placed it in front of him. Seeing that, the youth's gaze was immediately attracted by the divine stone, as if the divine stone was a magnet, tightly pulling his gaze. From your aura, you should be at the 9th stage of the Sky Spirit Master. Very strong, but if I were to resist with my life on the line, you wouldn't be able to snatch the divine stone from me so easily, right? Su Yun said indifferently. A disdainful smile appeared on the youth's face once again. You're too confident. In my eyes, you're no different from a bug on a tree. If I want to take your life, I only need a single thought. If you think you can kill me in an instant, then do it. I can guarantee you that before you even kill me, I can attract a group of enemies for you. This is the evil sword forest, and there are as many greedy and vicious people as there are hairs on a cow. Everyone should want this divine stone, right? They should be willing to fight with you for this stone. Since you want to kill me, then I won't give it to you even if I have to risk my life. Su Yun said indifferently. Just because I can't kill you doesn't mean that others can't kill you. Hearing Su Yun's words, the youth's face changed. Are you threatening me? Whatever you think. Su Yun was still as calm and collected as ever. His expression did not change much. As for fear, that was even more so non-existent. The youth secretly examined Su Yun's expression and realized that he was not flustered at all. His heart was filled with doubt. This guy doesn't seem to be afraid of me at all. Is he pretending, or does he have a backup plan? A 5th stage Sky Spirit Master cultivator, in this evil sword forest, could not be considered a strong person. If he dared to run amok here, he would most likely have a trump card. It would be better to be on guard. Thinking about it, the youth suppressed the killing intent in his heart and revealed a smile. Brat, I advise you not to play any tricks with me. You have been hit by my poison sword chi. All of the chi meridians in your body have been paralyzed. The profound chi has been greatly reduced. Although you have the cultivation of the 5th stage of the Sky Spirit Master, the strength you can display is probably not even at the 1st stage. If you really want to run, you won't be able to run far. I advise you to hand over the divine stone to me. Maybe I can spare your life. You said so much, you just want this stone. Su Yun shook his head. My goal in coming to the sword world is not this stone. It's better to have less trouble. If you really want it, I can give it to you, but before that, you have to answer a question of mine. The youth's expression froze. What is the problem? What exactly is this stone? Su Yun muttered to himself for a moment, and finally revealed the doubts in his heart. The youth was stunned. He looked at Su Yun in a daze, and after a long while, he laughed out loud. It can't be? Ha 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 ha, you even want to snatch what this thing is? Ha 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 ha, what should I say to you? Idiot? Idiot? Or a retard? Ha 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 ha. After a long while, the youth finally stopped laughing, wiped the tears from the corner of his eyes, and said, all right, since you don't have any fate with this stone, I'll tell you. This stone is a divine stone. Rumor has it that it is a treasure that was peeled off from a divine robe, and has the unique property of eliminating other people's profound chi. It is said that as long as you embed this stone on your weapon, when you fight with someone, as long as your sword collides with the opponent, this stone will produce a strange power and directly devour a portion of the profound strength in the opponent's body. Regardless of whether you attack or the opponent attacks, as long as you touch it, the divine stone will immediately devour his cultivation, and it is said that as long as there are 7 or 8 times, all of the opponent's profound chi will be exhausted. At this point, the youth's eyes were filled with a strong fanaticism. Do you know what this means, idiot? As long as you have this stone, you will be able to kill existences that are several times stronger than you. You will be able to challenge those with heaven-defying method. You will be able to rob them and steal their treasures. You will be able to challenge those famous almighties? This was simply a treasure of the world. Frog at the bottom of a well. It's actually so magical. Su Yun was startled. Suddenly, he seemed to have thought of something. The youth had just said that it fell from a divine robe. Divine robe? It couldn't be the clear sky holy robe, right? Alright, kid, I've already told you what happened. Obediently give me the stone. The youth walked over with a sinister smile on his face. Seeing that, Su Yun picked up the stone on the ground and threw it at him. The youth immediately reached out to catch it. He looked at the stone carefully and realized that it was indeed a divine-level stone. The malevolence and fanaticism on his face became even more intense. Got it. Got it. Ha 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 ha, I didn't waste this half a year. I got it, ha ha ha. His laughter almost resounded through the forest. After an unknown period of time, the laughter stopped. He turned around and stared coldly at Su Yun. What do you want to do? Just as Su Yun stood up, he felt a gaze filled with killing intent, and could not help but ask. This divine stone. Who knows how many people covet it? Right now, who knows how many people in the entire Evil Sword Forest are still searching for its whereabouts? If those people knew that this stone was in my hands, wouldn't I be in endless trouble? The youth laughed. So you want to kill me? That's right. Didn't you promise me that you wouldn't kill me? I went back on my word. How can you be like this? Hey, I have an idea that can make those people not cause trouble for you. What idea? The youth hurriedly asked. Su Yun smiled slightly. If you give the stone to me for safekeeping, won't those people not cause trouble for you? As the sound of his voice faded, an iron fist suddenly smashed through countless thick and dense branches in the sky, fiercely attacking downwards. The sound of something tearing through the air rang out, dong. The earth trembled. Chapter 704. Dust flew into the air as a shock wave rippled out in all directions. The trees that were over 10 meters tall were all shattered by this brutal force. When the dust settled, there was a large hole in the ground. As for the youth, he had actually been smashed into the ground by the punch, leaving only his head exposed. The youth was confused by the attack. By the time he regained his senses, Su Yun had already rushed over to kill him. The death sword stirred up a dense devil chi and slashed down at him. The youth was shocked. He immediately leaped up, his body breaking out of the ground, overflowing with countless terrifying sword chi, fiercely shooting out in all directions. If it was a normal person, they would have been forced to retreat by his terrifying sword chi, but Su Yun did not have the slightest intention of retreating, and swung his sword at the youth's neck. Clang! The youth panicked as he used the sharp sword in his hand to block Su Yun's black sword. He panted a few times and gritted his teeth. Good boy, you actually dare to trick me! How can this be called shady? Su Yun raised his head, and a strange smile surfaced on his pale face under the cloak. The youth felt that something was wrong. With a bang, the place where the death sword and the green sword clashed actually produced a strong explosion. The youth could not react in time and was sent flying again, but this time it was not as simple as being sent flying. A large amount of devil chi was still tearing at the youth's skin and flesh, but the youth's cultivation was not ordinary. The devil chi had only broken through his protective aura and then disappeared without a trace. Su Yun turned around and saw the youth crawling up from the ground in a sorry state. At the moment, Su Yun's entire body did not show any signs of being paralyzed. He looked at the youth as if nothing had happened, and behind him stood a terrifying devil bone giant. The devil chi started to wreak havoc in all directions. You are a devil cultivator? Seeing Su Yun's eyes slowly turning blood-red, the youth was slightly shocked. The divine stone seems to be not bad. I'm going back on my word now and have decided to take it back. Su Yun said indifferently. Do you have the ability? The youth said coldly. It seems like you are not affected by my poison sword chi. You have some ability, but so what? I do not believe that a mere 5th stage sky spirit master existence can defeat me. A ninth stage cultivator? The young man bellowed. He raised his sword and rushed forward, releasing 7 sword strikes in the air, and every sword strike was wide open, every sword strike releasing surging poison gas. The poison gas was like a living creature, enveloping Su Yun, and then quickly gathered, completely corroding him. In the area enveloped by the poisonous gas, the trees rapidly withered, and the ground was reduced to granules. All living things were stripped away, and even water was evaporated. It was a terrifying scene. The poisonous gas was like the breath of the Grim Reaper. As long as you come into contact with even the slightest bit of poison gas, you'll definitely die. The young man stared at the poisonous gas and sneered. However, at this moment, a whisper suddenly came from behind. If it's not touched, then it's fine, right? The young man was shocked. He suddenly turned around, only to see a foot fiercely kicking his abdomen. The foot was wrapped with a thick mysterious force that directly attacked his body, crazily shaking his internal organs and chi meridian. The young man's body spasmed a few times before he fell to the ground. Su Yun extended his hand and picked up the divine stone in the young man's hand. Looking at the young man who was trying his best to stand up, Su Yun could not help but shake his head. Ninth stage of Sky Spirit Master? Your sword seems to be pretty good. If the poison gas really touches it, I'm afraid you will die without a doubt. Your cultivation is not bad, the profound chi is very dense. It's just that your moves and movement technique are too weak. I'm guessing that your cultivation is also relying on profound coin to rush up, right? As Su Yun spoke, he placed the divine stone into his storage ring, and at the same time, he raised the death sword and swung it at the young man without hesitation. You are a potential threat, you cannot be left alive. As his voice fell, the death sword also descended. However, the youth did not resist. Instead, he revealed a strange smile. Bang! Suddenly, the youth's body exploded, and a large amount of dark green juice splattered in all directions. When the juice landed on the ground, it actually melted through the ground. Su Yun's nerves tensed up, and in a split second, he took out his imperial equipment. The chi cover was formed, and a large amount of juice smashed onto the chi cover. However, what was even more frightening was that the chi cover was being corroded by the juice and thinned out. Su Yun frowned even more. He could clearly feel the profound energy in his body being rapidly consumed. The corrosive power of the juice was simply unimaginably strong. He took a step back, and at the same time, he removed the chi cover. The front part of the juice landed on the ground, causing the ground to be filled with potholes. Each and every one of the bottomless holes was extremely terrifying. When he looked around again, he could no longer see the youth. Did he escape? Su Yun thought, but he did not dare to let down his guard. Although this person had relied on profound coin to raise his cultivation, his strength was not ordinary. If not for his speed, Su Yun would not have been able to suppress him easily, and now that he was hiding in the dark, with Su Yun's cultivation, it would not be easy to find him. Su Yun's eyes rolled a few times. He removed the devil bone giant, turned and quickly rushed into the forest. The exploded body must be a magic treasure or a clone, and the main body must have either escaped or hidden in the dark, waiting for an opportunity to take action. Most likely, that guy already knew that Su Yun's strength was not ordinary and was not easy to deal with, so he decided to use the underhanded method. Since he was a poison user, he must like this method. Su Yun did not urge the profound chi. His speed was not fast. He held onto the death sword, and as he ran, he carefully and vigilantly looked around. The surrounding forest was very quiet, there was not the slightest movement, but the opponent was in existence at the 9th stage of the Sky Spirit Master. His methods must be extremely brilliant. If he was careless, he would definitely be beheaded. However, after running for an entire 4 hours, he still did not see the youth make a move. Could it be that he really left and didn't follow me? Su Yun thought. Crack. Suddenly, a strange sound came from afar. Su Yun stopped in his tracks and activated the profound qi. However, he heard the weak voice quickly expand, and at the same time, a tyrannical profound qi also came pressing over. So fast, so strong, so fierce. Judging from the hurried footsteps and the terrifying profound qi, the other party was rushing towards him. However, the person who came was definitely not that young man. Su Yun flipped backwards, raised his hand and formed a sword art. His pitch-black cloak fluttered, and 9 blazing swords shot out from the sword sheath behind him, and the death sword in his hand was replaced by the pale white tribulation fire sword. His finger changed a few times, and the tribulation fire sword danced. The subordinate swords quickly moved, transforming into a blazing sword formation in the air, like a furnace. The ground started to tremble. The man was already approaching. Su Yun's gaze was solemn. He stared at the man. It was a man with a body full of muscles and a face full of stubble. His face was twisted. He was dressed in rough clothes. His eyes were like a tiger and wolf, staring at Su Yun. His legs were running quickly. The shadow of his legs could not be seen, and the ground was being trampled by him. The most eye-catching thing was the wide and heavy gray greatsword in his hand. The sword was close to 2 meters long, thick and unsharpened, and a majestic and mighty lion was carved on the body of the sword. It was vivid and lifelike. However, such a seemingly heavy sword was being held by him with one hand. He opened his vicious eyes and roared as he rushed over. "Hand over the divine stone and leave your corpse intact." With that said, he raised his sword and waved it at Su Yun. Dong! The sword smashed into the ground. The ground immediately split open, and a large number of protruding rocks shot out from the ground, straight towards Su Yun. The scene was as if the heavens and earth were collapsing. It was extremely shocking. Phoenix dance in the sky. Su Yun brandished the tribulation fire, his profound energy fluctuating. A sharp sword flew out from the burning heaven sword formation, transforming into a fire phoenix that swept towards the protruding rocks. The extremely high temperature of the fire phoenix forcibly melted all the protruding rocks, blocking this terrifying move. However, just as he was about to dissolve this move, the muscular man had already leaped over. He jumped high up, holding onto the greatsword with both hands. He slashed down towards Su Yun's head. At this moment, all of his strength was concentrated on the heavy greatsword in his hand without reservation. The opponent's movements were fast. Su Yun had no way to retreat. He could only use both hands to block the tribulation fire. Dong! When the two swords collided, the ground beneath Su Yun's feet immediately crumbled. The entire evil sword forest trembled a bit. He felt as if there was a huge mountain pressing down on the tribulation fire sword. The impact seemed to be able to shatter a person's arms. What great power! Su Yun's face twisted slightly. All the profound energy in his body was activated, but he was actually not a match for his opponent. The hand that was supporting the heavy sword actually started to tremble. From the looks of it, this was a spirit cultivator who cultivated the true divine spirit qi. Although he used a sword, he used a strong sword. His cultivation was at least at the 6th stage of the Sky Spirit Master. Su Yun thought. His gaze suddenly swept across, looking at the few flying swords in the air. His pair of blood-red eyes flickered. In an instant, the flying sword turned around and slashed towards the brawny man. The brawny man's face darkened. He roared and wanted to dodge, but Su Yun seized the opportunity and sent the tribulation fire in his hand directly into his body. Clang! The brawny man swept his sword horizontally, causing all the subordinate swords in the air to retreat, but his abdomen was also stabbed by the tribulation fire sword. The profound qi surged into his body like a flood, crazily stirring his internal organs. The victor had been decided? "Do you think you can defeat me like this?" Just then, he shouted and suddenly turned around. He actually completely ignored the tribulation fire sword's attack and continued to slash at Su Yun. It was as if he had forgotten the pain and the scars. It was as if he had an immortal body and only cared about attacking. Dong! Su Yun's shoulder was struck by the big sword. His feet sank down again. However, Su Yun also did not move. He didn't feel any pain. He raised his head, and his blood-red eyes were filled with madness and killing intent. The man's ferocious face finally revealed a trace of astonishment. Although the true divine spirit Qi is strong, but the lethality is too weak, Su Yun said in a deep voice. Both of his hands held onto the tribulation fire tightly, and the profound energy he was using surged towards the tribulation fire sword. The power of the tribulation fire sword was drawn out, and the blazing temperature began to take effect. Ah! The burly man suddenly screamed in pain. His abdomen was a fiery red, and the flesh and blood there began to melt rapidly. In just a moment, his upper and lower body were directly melted, and the two halves of his body fell to the ground. Su Yun did not hold back at all. He raised his sword and chopped down. The man's head was chopped off. Chapter 705. The soul overflowed, and with a sweep of the sword, the blazing temperature completely swallowed the soul. A sixth-stage sky spirit master cultivator died. The heavy greatsword landed on the ground, announcing the end of the battle. The profound strength that was rippling in the air also began to slowly dissipate, and everything returned to normal, like a clear sky after the rain stopped. Su Yun coughed a few times. He looked at his left shoulder, only to see that the protective profound Qi had been scattered. His shoulder was completely caved in, and his bones were most likely broken. This kind of injury, to an ordinary spirit cultivator, would take at least a day or two to heal, but he had the Wanhua seed. His life force was extremely strong, and it would not take long for him to recover from these injuries. The battle with the big-sized man had consumed a lot of his physical strength and profound strength. Su Yun took out a pill from his storage ring and swallowed it. After that, he kept the subordinate sword and walked forward. The surroundings were terrifyingly quiet. The battle had ended, and everything seemed extremely strange. It was so strange that one could hear their own heartbeats. However, he had only taken a few steps when he stopped on his own accord. "Come out," Su Yun said indifferently. As the sound of his voice faded, the silent surroundings finally began to emit a light sound. It was like the rustling sound of the wind blowing through the leaves. "Hee, even if you didn't say it, I would have come out. It's about time, I don't need to hide anymore." A mocking laughter came out. Following that, a figure silently appeared about 10 meters in front of Su Yun. It was the youth who had disappeared. "When did you find me?" "Just now," Su Yun said indifferently. "I also just thought of it. I have never met this person before, but he has his eyes on me, and attacked me without hesitation. Such decisiveness is simply unrealistic. I'm afraid someone is ordering him, and that person is most likely you, so I guess that he is just a chess piece that you used, and his goal is to use me to exhaust me, so that you can deal with me more easily." "That's right." The youth grinned. "I just told him who has the divine stone, where that person is, and this brainless guy rushed over like a madman, hee. But what disappointed me was that this sixth-stage sky spirit master cultivator actually died after fighting with you for a few rounds. It's really useless, but luckily, I managed to cause you some damage, and not be called trash." As the young man spoke, he pulled out the emerald green sword from his waist, and smiled at Su Yun. "You must have consumed a lot of your profound energy in the battle with that fellow, right? The current you is much easier to deal with than before." With that, the young man walked towards Su Yun step by step. However, at this moment, Su Yun still did not panic. He slowly put away the tribulation fire sword and reached into the sword sheath at his waist to take out a similarly white but snow-white sword, Lotus Star Sword. "Your idea is indeed not bad. Temporarily avoid the attack, use others to exhaust your opponent's strength, and then attack at the right time. Not bad. This way, not only can you kill me, you can also easily obtain the divine stone. However, there is one thing that is not perfect. If I were you, I would not obediently appear in front of my opponent like this. Instead, I would choose a suitable opportunity to launch a sneak attack from the shadows. This way, it would be easier to kill my opponent. Su Yun said, and also walked towards the young man, the snow-white lustrous sword pointed at the ground, illuminating the pitch-black night. How many swords did this guy have? The young man could not help but glance at Su Yun's weapon and then snorted. Deal with you? Do you still need a sneak attack? If word of this gets out, how will I be able to establish myself in the future? With that said, the youth leaped forward with a tap of his feet. He waved his hand in the air, and a burst of profound strength spread out in all directions like a torrent. Following that, the ground started to tremble, and the already fragmented ground started to change. The cracks started to spew out an endless amount of poisonous fog, filling the entire forest. This was impressively a poison chi domain. Su Yun held onto the flag with one hand and the lotus star sword with the other, pressing against the poison as he approached the young man. The chi cover was corroded by the poison chi, and with every inch he advanced, the profound chi in his body would be consumed a lot. Adding the continuous battles, the profound chi in Su Yun's body was already less than half he. The young man was not afraid at all. He swept his sword horizontally and attacked Su Yun head-on. Clang! The snow-white sword and the emerald-green sword clashed, releasing a crisp sound. The lotus star sword did not have any changes, but the emerald-green sword body released a strange green snake, following the lotus star sword and climbing towards Su Yun's body. When it met the chi cover, it was blocked by the chi cover, and the green snake opened its mouth and started to bite. With every bite, the profound strength in Su Yun's body started to tremble. No wonder you are so arrogant. So it turns out that you have such a magic treasure. This seems to be a imperial equipment, right? To be able to withstand my attack, I'm afraid its grade is not low. After I snatch the divine stone, I will also kindly accept this treasure. The youth laughed as he leaped backwards. His fingers moved slightly, and in an instant, the poisonous gas in the area became stronger and stronger. The poisonous snake that was biting the chi cover also began to change, its body crazily growing in size, and in the blink of an eye, it had turned into a giant dragon. The giant dragon no longer crazily gnawed at it. Instead, it circled around the chi cover and used its brute force to crush it. The chi cover became more and more dangerous, and the consumption of Su Yun's profound chi became more and more intense. The situation of the battle was completely in the hands of the young man. Seeing that Su Yun was supporting the imperial equipment but was unable to retaliate, the smile on his face became more and more complacent. In the end, victory still belongs to me, the youth muttered to himself. Everything was within his expectations and control. There weren't many deviations, and this result gave him an indescribable joy in both his body and mind. However, but this joy suddenly stopped. His eyes slowly grew larger, and in the end, they widened to the extreme as he looked forward in shock. The person who was completely surrounded and devoured by the poisonous gas and the giant dragon was actually holding onto the imperial equipment and walking towards him step by step. The chi cover, which seemed to be getting thinner and thinner, could not be broken no matter what. The profound chi in this person's body seemed to be completely inexhaustible, no matter how much the giant dragon consumed, no matter how much the poisonous gas corroded. It was unable to see the bottom. Could a person at the 5th stage of the Sky Spirit Master have such a dense profound chi? No. Absolutely impossible. The youth was almost screaming hysterically in his heart. This time, I won't show mercy, Su Yun said in a low voice. The youth gritted his teeth. His face was ferocious as he charged forward with his sword in hand. Clang! The chi cover once again blocked his sword edge. He held on to the emerald-green sword with both hands, his arms trembling violently. The poison on the sword continued to corrode the chi cover, adding the giant dragon and the poisonous gas. Su Yun was currently being attacked from 3 sides. Suddenly, Su Yun's fingers that were holding onto the imperial equipment loosened, causing the giant dragon's body and the young man's body to tremble at the same time. Even the poisonous gas in the air shook a little, and then the youth stopped moving. Like a statue, he stood in place in an instant, no longer moving, no longer driving, and no longer leaving. In that instant, time seemed to stop. Upon closer inspection, one could see that a thin line of blood had appeared on his neck. It was a sword mark made by the Lotus Star sword. The speed at which Su Yun activated the profound chi had already reached its limit. In the blink of an eye, he was able to cut back and forth 10 times to unleash the profound skill. He purposely held onto the few profound chi-s and approached the youth. His goal was to get close to him and let him take the initiative to attack the chi cover. The surroundings were filled with poisonous gas, and if he removed the imperial equipment, he would not be able to survive in the poisonous gas for long. Even if he forcefully escaped from the area, he would still be caught by the youth and killed. Therefore, he could only deal with the youth quickly and catch him off guard. As a result, the moment the youth attacked the chi cover, he instantly removed the chi cover and instantly released his sword. He used the Lotus Star sword art to break the protective profound chi, then retracted his sword and instantly regenerated the imperial equipment chi cover. These 4 actions were completed in a single thought, so fast that even the young man, who was at the 9th stage of the Sky Spirit Master, did not have time to react. Su Yun was fast, his attacks were not strong, but it had to be known that Su Yun had used up a large amount of profound chi by the spirit cultivator, and the young man's own profound strength was not sufficient either. Adding that the young man was constantly attacking, and Su Yun was the main defender, the young man would consume even more profound chi than Su Yun. This way, he would have the opportunity to take advantage of, but this kind of attack could only be sustained for one move. If he missed, the situation would be extremely dangerous. He supported his exhausted body and ran forward for a distance, far away from the poisonous gas. He found a big tree and jumped onto it, hiding in the dense treetops, and began to meditate. After going through so many battles, the spirit core was exhausted, and the chi meridian was even more dry. However, after killing this person, Su Yun felt that his perception had increased by a level. Thinking back to the young man's method of urging chi and fighting tactics, ripples surfaced in his heart. As he carefully recuperated, the spirit core underwent a change. This was a sign that he was about to break through. Sure enough, after sitting cross-legged for half a day, his body started to emit a brilliant light, the spirit core changed, and the strength of his body became even stronger. The accumulation of cultivation was like a fruit. When it absorbed enough nutrients, it would ripen. Whether it was sitting cross-legged or fighting with others, it was the accumulation of cultivation, a type of experience, and often, when exchanging blows with Supreme Expert, one would obtain a lot of benefits, not only in terms of profound skill, but also in terms of knowledge. After breaking through and stepping into the 6th stage of the Sky Spirit Master, the profound strength and the 5th stage of the Sky Spirit Master had nearly doubled, but the most outstanding growth was not the profound strength, but the senses. At that moment, Su Yun realized that he could clearly see everything within 1,000 miles, any movement in the wind, he could hear it, see it, and even the leaves on the leaves could be seen clearly. Su Yun exhaled. He took out a pill from his storage ring and consumed it. After recuperating for a while, he quickly walked out of the evil sword forest. After walking for a few hours, the sky had already brightened. The trees in front of him had gradually become sparse, and from the looks of it, it seemed that he was about to leave the evil sword forest. Just then, Su Yun suddenly slowed down his footstep. 1,000 miles in front of him, a faint sound slowly floated up, and it was extremely noisy. There were people, and there were many of them. He carefully pulled out the death sword and slowly approached. He originally wanted to take a detour, but he felt that it was rather strange. because amongst these voices, Su Yun seemed to have heard a few strange shouts. "Waiter, serve the tea." Chapter 706. Could it be that there was a tea-house in front? That's not right. How could there be a tea-house in the Evil Sword Forest? Filled with suspicions, Su Yun carefully moved forward. After walking for less than the time it takes for an incense stick to burn, he could already see the tea-house. It was a tea-house located at the exit of the Evil Sword Forest. It was all made of wood, without any enchantments or array formations. It was a wooden house, a few cloth sails, and a few tables. It was very simple and crude, but the people drinking tea at the table were all fierce-looking spirit cultivator with extremely strong cultivations. They gathered together in twos and threes, chatting loudly and freely. Su Yun's position was already within their range of detection, so Su Yun had naturally been discovered by them a long time ago. It was just that these people only casually glanced at Su Yun, and did not care about him, not revealing any killing intent or hostility. From the looks of it, this was indeed a tea-house. Su Yun thought. He looked at the waiter who was busy, thought for a while, then walked forward, planning to pass through the tea-house and leave the Evil Sword Forest. "Oh, customer, you've worked hard. Why don't you come in for a cup of tea?" When the waiter saw Su Yun passing by, he immediately ran over, nodded and bowed with a smile. Su Yun waved his hand, intending to reject. "I wonder who will get the clear sky holy robe this time. I reckon that all the geniuses on the heroic sword list will definitely come. This competition will definitely be worth watching." Just at this moment, a sentence unintentionally floated over from the other side of the table. Hearing that, Su Yun's waving hand immediately froze. "Clear sky holy robe?" These 4 words were like 4 sparks that ignited his heart. He turned his head and said, "Give me a bowl of your best tea." After saying that, he walked to an empty table and sat down. All right, customer, please wait a moment." The waiter grinned from ear to ear and ran away. The people around him were still chatting, but the small tea-house was very lively. He secretly looked at the table over there, only to see 3 people sitting there, 2 men and 1 woman. One of them was a young-looking spirit cultivator, who was talking with confidence and composure, while the other 2 were listening attentively, not interrupting him. The clear sky holy robe is a treasure left behind by the ancient immortal god, great Emperor Haotian. With this, even if it is a spirit master existence, it would be able to contend against a sky spirit master existence. It is said that no profound energy under the heavens can break through this divine object. If we are lucky enough to obtain it, then it can be said that we can roam the world as we please, and no one can do anything to us. Such a treasure we can't just watch as it gets snatched away by someone else. We must participate. That's right. Even if I can't obtain the clear sky holy robe from this trip to the mighty Sword Valley, I have to at least gain a good reputation. Big Brother is right, but there's one thing that I don't understand. The female spirit cultivator thought for a while, then asked, "Since the mighty Sword Valley has such a treasure, why didn't they keep it for themselves? Instead, they held a hero's sword discourse and used it as a prize for the sword discourse sword master? What? Doesn't he want it?" Little sister's question is on point. Not to mention what you think, I guess that many people who are heading to the mighty Sword Valley think the same. However, there is one thing that you all might not know, and that is that the current clear sky holy robe is not complete. The 2 spirit cultivators stared with wide eyes. Incomplete. The spirit cultivators on the surrounding tables also purposely lowered their voices, and all of them pricked up their ears to listen. The young spirit cultivator who spoke did not hide anything, and laughed. It is said that a few days ago, the mighty Sword Valley was attacked by enemies, and the clear sky holy robe that the mighty Sword Valley had kept for all these years was plundered. The 2 sides fought for 7 days and 7 nights, and the mighty Sword Valley suffered extremely serious damage. The son of the mighty Sword Valley's Valley Master, Wei Qin Xiu, also died miserably in this unforeseen event. What? As soon as he said this, the surroundings burst into cheers. Seeing the intense reaction of the people around him, the young man laughed out loud. Everyone, don't worry, this is not a very serious damage. Rather than saying that it is destroyed, it would be better to say that it is incomplete. It is said that a part of the clear sky holy robe is missing, and its power is greatly reduced. Because of this, the mighty Sword Valley Master decided to hold a hero's sword discourse. He wanted to hand over the clear sky holy robe to a hero who could take on great responsibility, and at the same time to avoid disaster. All these years, it could be said that the mighty Sword Valley has been guarding against thieves day and night, carefully protecting the Saint Robe. For the sake of this Saint Robe, who knows how many people have died in the mighty Sword Valley, but this time, even the son of the Valley Master has died. It is not strange that the mighty Sword Valley Master would do such a thing. In that case, it's useless for us to have this Saint Robe. It's a defective product, why would we want it? A brawny man at the side could not help but interrupt. When the young man heard this, he shook his head and laughed. If you think like this, it can only be said that your knowledge is too shallow. Hey, what do you mean? The big man was enraged. What else could it mean? If you obtain the Saint Robe, you can naturally search for the missing parts of the Saint Robe. If you gather all of them, wouldn't you also have a complete Saint Robe? If you don't fight for it and let others obtain it, then you will never be able to possess this Saint Robe. Moreover, even if the Saint Robe is missing a part, its power is still unquestionable. It was also equivalent to a powerful first-grade Imperial equipment. Tell me, should we take this Saint Robe or not? The young man looked around. Everyone fell silent. Sir, your tea. At this time, the waiter brought over a cup of green and blue tea. The tea was fragrant. Su Yun sang lightly, his mind still thinking about the matters of the mighty Sword Valley. A hero discussing the sword? Was the mighty Sword Valley Lord already afraid of the calamity brought about by the Saint Robe? But if that was the case, why would he hold such a sword discussion? Wouldn't it be easier to just give it away? There must be a purpose for him to go through so much trouble. Perhaps it wasn't that simple, and it was also possible that the mighty Sword Valley Lord had purposely held such a hero's sword discussion to lure out the person who had seized the Saint Robe. But no matter what, Su Yun had to participate in this hero's sword discourse. His goal in going to the sword world was the clear sky holy robe. Even if he had to use any means, he had to snatch it. After drinking the tea and paying, Su Yun stood up and headed towards the mighty Sword Valley. It was said that the mighty Sword Valley was right behind these 3 mountain ranges. If one were to advance at full speed, they would be able to reach it in 5 days. Outside the bright starry sky, a river that seemed to be made of silver water slowly flowed through the boundless universe. The silver water shone brightly and was especially dazzling. Even the bright stars around it could not take away its luster. At the end of the silver water was an incomparably huge palace. The silver water flowed past the palace and converged at the back of the palace. It gathered together like an ocean. This was the famous Eastern Emperor Island. It was a magical place that fell from the sky. The dazzling gold-rimmed door slowly opened, and a tall figure walked out from inside. His figure stood at the side of the Milky Way, quietly staring at the silver water, deep in thought. Sky Sovereign. A spirit cultivator appeared at the side. He knelt down on one knee and said respectfully, "How is Sword Ancestor?" The Eastern Emperor Heavenly Sovereign asked indifferently with his hands behind his back. There is no longer any information about Sword Ancestor in the Wanhua realm. Based on my initial judgment, he should have already left the Wanhua realm. What about the other Sword Ancestor souls? Is there no news at all? Ultimate Martial World has some clues, but I can't confirm if that is Sword Ancestor's soul. Hearing that, the Eastern Emperor Heavenly Sovereign thought for a moment, then said indifferently, Send more people to investigate. Once you find out that it is Sword Ancestor's soul, immediately inform me. This time, we can't let Sword Ancestor escape. Yes, sir. We must kill him before the Sword Ancestor's soul is gathered. Otherwise, we will never have a day of peace. No one can save us either. The Eastern Emperor Heavenly Sovereign's brows were filled with seriousness. Yes, Sky Sovereign. The man nodded. Oh right, how is the matter I told you last time? The Eastern Emperor Heavenly Sovereign seemed to have thought of something and asked solemnly. This subordinate has already seriously investigated. That person's surname is Su Yun, and he is someone who came from the Sky Martial Continent. For some reason, he became a disciple of the Sword Ancestor, and obtained the inheritance of the limitless sword arts. It is said that he is entrenched in the first generation of the Beiyang, but he himself does not often go in and out of the Beiyang, but rather enter and exit the True Devil Realm. True Devil Realm. The Eastern Emperor Heavenly Sovereign turned around and looked at him. Why would he go to the Devil Cultivator's territory alone? I heard that he is a member of the True Devil Sect. True Devil Sect? When I fought with him, I did indeed feel a very strong devil chi. I never thought that he would actually enter the True Devil Sect again. He can be considered an interesting person. This person's whereabouts have always been strange. We have always wanted to keep an eye on him, but he went to the Wanhua realm and has yet to come out. The Wanhua realm has been sealed, and his relationship with the Realm Master is very good, so he can freely enter and exit. Not only has this person received the recognition of the Sword Ancestor, he has also received the favor of the Wanhua Realm Master, and now that he is a member of the True Devil Sect, he has truly benefited from both sides. What is even more infuriating is that his cultivation place is actually located in the Beiyang, so it seems that the 100 Meetings Alliance in the Beiyang is more or less related to him. No wonder he dares to make me his enemy. Sky Sovereign, don't worry. With the strength of my Eastern Emperor Island, killing this person is as easy as flipping my hand. The man hurriedly said. If it was as easy as flipping my hand, how could I have been defeated by him? The Eastern Emperor Heavenly Sovereign said indifferently. Victory is victory, defeat is defeat. There is no need to find an excuse for your failure. What you should be looking for is a reason to work hard to cultivate. In this world, credit and honor are only in the hands of the victor, and the victor does not need excuses or reasons, but powerful strength. Do you understand? This subordinate will remember. Send some people to guard the entrance of the Wanhua realm. If Su Yun leaves the Wanhua realm, quickly inform me. If he does not get rid of him, he will be a scourge. The Sword Ancestor is difficult to erase. The Eastern Emperor Heavenly Sovereign said solemnly. Yes, sir. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.